messages. Welcome to the live stream. Happy Lionsgate to you. It is 8:08 on 8/8, and I promised that I was gonna do some stuff for Lionsgate. So here we are, and welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're seeing this on the day that if you're catching it live, amazing. If not, we're still gonna be in Lionsgate energy for a few more days now. I think until the 12th. But this is the height of Lionsgate, and yeah, I'm excited. So, yay! Thank you for joining me, and welcome in, welcome in. Um, I was actually working on a reading for Lionsgate, and something had happened with my phone, and it kind of paused it. So I'm gonna have to. I'll finish it later and come out. Put it out in two parts, part one and two. But when I did that and looked at the clock, and it was like 8:01, I'm like, oh, let me jump on in here and see what's going on with the family this evening. So let me see who we get coming in. Okay, okay. Welcome, welcome. Whoever just came in the room, welcome and happy Lionsgate to you. I'm trying to get myself situated. I literally have a table full of cards here because I was in the middle of doing the collective reading for Lionsgate, and the camera kind of glitched and turned off. So I was like, yeah, I'll jump on the live and then finish the reading later. I've pulled all the cards for the reading. I just have to finish actually doing the reading at this point. So it is what it is. Mm-mm-mm. Don't be shy. Whoever came in, say hi so I can see what's going on and who you are. Hey, Major Arcana, how are you? Or Hannah, good to have you in here and welcome. Happy Lionsgate to you. Hey, maybe Aeolus Demigod, how are you? Hey, Liam, welcome in, and happy Lionsgate to all of you. Hey, OHP8, I'm not sure what that is. I'm not saying it right, but welcome and hello, welcome in. I just wanted to go ahead and take some time to say hello to everyone. I've been slacking a little bit on the live streams lately, so I figured I'd get on in here and say what's going on. Hey, Jilly, welcome, welcome. I probably should have announced to some folks that I was going to come in live this evening, but it's okay because like I said, I don't really have a major plan. It's our show. We can talk about whatever. We usually wind up talking about spirituality and the stuff that I'm into on the channel during the live stream, and that's just fine by me as well. I appreciate the love too. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. I got a little bit further in the 12th planet today. Hey, Tango. Welcome, welcome. Good to have you in here. Well, it's evening time for me, but grand rising to you, brother. Good to have you in. Good to have you. Welcome and happy Lionsgate. Well, actually, if you're rising now, you know, uh, somebody need to pray for you, Dixie, because whatever you got going on, I've seen you in here before. Even the choice of name for your thing, I don't know what you got going on, but I do hope that whatever it is, that the scales be removed from your eyes and your spirit, and you ascend and become, you know, um, an adult. Tend to your spirit, OHP8. Tend to your spiritual energy. Meditate, grounding work, spiritual baths, salt baths, things like that. Doesn't matter what sign you are, honey. The steps to spirituality is the same for everybody. We put a lot of store in the astrology, and I'm not saying astrology doesn't matter, but when you get past horoscopes and all of that and worrying about how to tend to your spiritual vibration and how to awaken and ascend, it's the same for everybody. It don't matter whether you're a Scorpio or whatever you are. Look it up, honey. I can't give the entire master class on it here in this live stream, but a spiritual bath is not one that's for regular cleansing. Usually you will take a shower or a bath first, and then the spiritual bath has other things in it that's designed to help clear your aura. It's about intention, yes, but it's also about clearing. Our physical body is one thing, but we have an etheric and an energetic body that is much larger than our physical body. And first and foremost, with almost any, like a basic spiritual bath, you would want to put salt in the water. Negative energies tend to not like salt. Okay. um Crystal light healing is fine. Honestly, you can spend a lot of money or you can spend almost no money. The very first things that I would recommend to anybody that's trying to start clearing their energy and becoming aware is, I can give you a basic salt bath right here. 1 cup of salt, preferably like sea salt, but if you have to use table salt, it's fine. Salt. 1 cup of salt, 1 cup of baking soda, 1 cup of Epsom salts, perhaps 1 cup of brown sugar if you have it, like light brown sugar. After you've taken a shower or bath, empty the tub, run it back with water as warm as you can, stand it without hurting yourself, of course, and then put those items, dissolve that in the tub. You can also put a little bit of cinnamon in there, but cinnamon does get messy in the tub. So if you're going to use cinnamon, probably only a teaspoon or two. No, a cup of cinnamon will gunk up your tub so bad you will be hating life. Trust me, I've done that. Murray, you're on your way out of here. I'm not going to argue with you. You got to know what I'm talking about. I'm 57 years old, and I didn't just get to this point in my spirituality, so it's not up for debate. It really isn't. Bye. Have a good day. But when you do that basic aura cleansing bath, that's a very basic bath with stuff that you probably already even have around the house. You will feel very much better. If you feel like you need to further cleanse your energy, I would recommend anyone getting a Himalayan salt lamp for their home, at least like maybe the living room and bedroom area, to help clear the energy in the house. Saging your space, any kind of smudging with like sage, Palo Santo, um, those type things, sweetgrass, that can all help as well. Bro, bro, 100, you're talking about putting salt on your steak. If somebody is actually having spiritual issues though and trying to clear their energy and wanting to understand how to do that, I would recommend them to stay away from heavy things like steak just for now. I'm not telling nobody that they can never ever have a steak again, but the heavier the foods you eat, the heavier your physical body is bogged down, which also bogs down your energetic body. So if you're trying to clear and cleanse and purify, you probably don't want to be eating steak at this point in time. Murray gonna be up out of here in just a minute. Yeah, let's go. We can put you in timeout because people that can't behave can't stay in here. Robert, I heard that you ain't got no kind of a life if you ain't got nothing better to do than come in here and harass people when you have no idea what we even talking about. That's ignorant. You're not gonna be able to stay with that. Hey, Sarav, how are you? Hey, Martin. Thank you, Tango. I appreciate you. Hey, Alice. How are you? Hey, Tracy. I'm good. How are you? He should have told you before you ate oxtail earlier. Well, I didn't know you was having issues, Lamborghini White. That's why I said I'm not telling anybody they can't ever have things like that again. I'm just saying if you really are having an issue right now, they came in the live stream asking for me to pray for them and wanting to know how to clear their energy. So if they're having a spiritual crisis, the lighter they can eat right now while they're clearing their energy, the better off they're going to be. I love meat too. Look, there's no moral judgment against meat. I mean, people do that. I'm not one of those people. I'm saying it's just like when you're sick. If you got a cold, you don't want to eat ice cream because it's going to gunk you up and make you more mucusy. Same difference. If you're under spiritual attack and having an issue and talking about doing some spiritual cleansing, you can't clean something when you're steadily dirtying it up again. So sugar and alcohol and heavy foods, heavy meats and things like that, while you're in a period of trying to cleanse the body, you don't want to do that. Awesome, Deja. Awesome, awesome. Lami, it's always good to meditate, honey. People, the issue with the full moon versus the new moon and the different moon phases are for people that have gone a little bit further in their journey and are actively manifesting with the moon phases. I'm a moon mama. You can go out there and make a petition and burn it and release it and do all kinds of stuff with the intention of the full moon. But it's always a good idea to meditate, honey. Morning, noon, whenever. Yeah, you can't go wrong with meditation. Not in my opinion, anyway. Talking about the shift, um, absolutely crazy creed. That's why they call it spirits. I mean, well, it may not be the only reason why, but it does. Just like when I was talking about salt, certain entities and energies do like certain things, and certain energies and entities don't like certain things. Even in the scriptures, it talks about something they were burning, some kind of incense, and it was a restful odor unto the Lord. Same thing with energies. That's why we burn the holy woods, frankincense and cedar and sandalwood and agarwood and palo santo and things like that. Negative energies don't like those scents. They smell wonderful, but they just don't like them. Why purple? Because I love purple and I always have. I'm a purple girl. Um, Yeah, smoking cigarettes typically attract negative energies and entities. I was a smoker for many years, and that is one of the hardest things to kick. Even now, I haven't smoked in almost a year, but every now and then I still have a, like, in the back of my mind, if it was around, I probably would have one. Or I'm glad they're not around because, yeah, I don't want to go. Honestly, Alice, I do smoke cannabis from time to time. I like to meditate with it. Now, I will say, my guides led me to cannabis in meditation, but I use very, very small amounts. The vast majority of people that use cannabis grossly overuse it. When they using it for recreation purposes and they out there smoking blunts and blunts and blunts, they're getting so high that they can't really bring back the spiritual benefit that they get while they're out in the cosmos and the ethers and the um, astral realm, what have you. So, my recommendation is if you want to use cannabis for meditative purposes within spirituality, very small amounts. I can't even recommend rolling up in like a blunt or a joint type scenario. I started honestly with like the little one hitters so I could control what I was using. And even then, I mean, I've been smoking for years at this point, but even at that, the most I'll use is a regular small bowl, so I know exactly what I'm consuming and I don't overdo it, because if you get too high, you just high. You ain't really getting no spiritual benefit from it. You just high. And of course, It does have a beautiful spiritual benefit and component, but anybody in the sound of my voice, I am not telling you to go smoke weed. Don't you dare tell nobody I'm telling you to do that, especially if you're from some place where it's illegal. Don't go to jail because you saw much Mystic told you. Mystic ain't told you no such a tale. If you're going to do it anyway, do it wisely in very small amounts. Okay. That's my. I just had to put that public service announcement in there because I don't want nobody coming back later saying that I'm up here online telling people to smoke weed. No, I'm not. I understand the benefit of it, but I do also understand that this broadcast may go out all over the world, and there's some places where 2 grams will get you 2 years. And I'm not telling nobody that the spiritual benefit is so fabulous that they should risk prison time to find out. No, 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 no. Matthew, I hear you. You burning one right now? Honestly, Lamborghini, to some degree they would, but cannabis is like anything else. It's a very intentional weed. You have to let her teach you. Um, some people smoke weed and freak out because that's where their energy level is. They're not they or they spiral off into paranoia and depression and everything else. Everybody can't use it for a positive outcome. Like they look like they're not doing much, but their minds are not in a good space. Yeah. Yeah, you leave the alcohol alone as much as you can. They try to tell us that alcohol has a good maybe if you are pregnant and can't take anything else and your baby is kicking you stupid, half a glass of wine or something might help you. But for the most part, most of the time, alcohol, the the downsides to alcohol far outweigh any benefit you might actually get from it. It's not worth it. It really isn't. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Matthew, but okay. Wow, ain't none of my mods on tonight. That's weird, but that's okay. What else we gonna talk about then? Like I said, I've been on the channel. We're starting the 12th planet. I haven't been doing it in live stream because it's a pretty heavy conversation. No, 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 you're fine. You drive Uber? Oh wow. Yeah, yeah, he good. Bro, 100. They better not. They better not. Well, actually, if they, it depends. If they gonna, long as they respectful, I don't care. Cause I mean, like I said, I've been my dukes for the longest. So as long as they chill and respectful, I'm not a prude. I just won't tolerate like because of the platform. I'm really not a prude, but we're here discussing spirituality, so people can't come in here making really crude sexual remarks and all that kind of stuff. The energy for what I'm doing here, out of respect for Yeshua and Lord Enki, we have to keep a fairly respectful energy in this room. There's plenty of other live streams out there where they doing all kind of craziness and talking all kind of ways and putting up with all kind of foolishness, and if that's what they want to do, it's brain rot, but they're more than welcome to go do that, but they have to just do it somewhere else. That's all. Chat Lamborghini, honestly, the way these people are, you have to understand something. For everyone who is interested enough to even make an attempt at dealing with their spirituality or being concerned about ascension or where we're at in the stream of things or the high, maintaining our frequency and all that, we are as chosen ones, because I that's what, to me, that's all that means. I'm not saying chosen one like we got to walk around lording it over nobody, but those who are awakening and aware enough to be concerned about awakening, I consider those the chosen ones. And we are in a dumpster fire. Okay, we walking around in a dumpster fire right smack dab in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. Half of these people that run around saying and doing the stuff that they do, they have no idea that they have turned their vessel into a host for demons, literally. There are energies and entities roaming about this planet that literally feed off of negative energy, and they attach themselves to those people, and they become avatars for demons. That's why these people act such a fool. Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate you. The dragon year was tough. Yeah, it was. And what about tattoos? What are you asking? What I feel about them? I've got a little chain gang tat on my ankle, and I had intended to get some spiritual tattoos later on down the line. I would say be very careful because tattoos are forever. And truthfully, there's something to be said too. Anything that we expose ourselves to, especially once we become spiritually focused, we have to be very, very careful about it. Careful what we allow in through our eyes, careful what we allow in through our ears, and of course, you want to be careful what you allow in through your skin. This is the largest organ of our body. So I think some people go a bit overboard with tattoos. That's them. It seems to be an addiction once they get rolling with it. But also, I would be very careful at the images that you allow to permanently land on your skin, because you're literally piercing not just your physical avatar, but you're piercing your energetic and etheric bodies as well to carry these things. At least make them something that's meaningful, you know. Um, Honestly, I don't think it's so much of a blood ritual Lamborghini as it is. Yeah, during biblical times, that was a way to mark a slave. The piercing of the ear with an awl and a tattooing was a way to mark a slave. But in this day and time, it's just an expressive art form. I honestly don't. I don't feel no type of way about it. You can study more into it and see. I'm sure somebody got an opinion or two or five out there about it. But me personally, I don't have any problem with tattoos from a spiritual perspective. I just feel like moderation is key with just about anything, and just be mindful that it is something that you're going to be carrying forever. So, for example, like Dixie with that other thing out there, if you went and put a phallic symbol on your body now, as you continue to ascend spiritually, would you really want that hypersexual image to be displayed out there for the world, or the energy of something super negative like painting demons and whatever else on your body? Do you really want to be carrying that around in juxtaposition to your ascending energy? That's something we really have to consider, because you're going to be wearing that for a very long time. Hey, Nicole, how are you? You see, you got a tarot card that the government hates. Oh, wow. That's something too. You got to be mindful where you live, whether you are into something or not. Is it something culturally that's going to have cause a problem in the workplace with the government, what have you? It's like I always encourage, my kids are all ink mad. I got four of them, and every single one of them is a little tattoo crazy, in my opinion. And I've always tried to encourage them, do not do anything from the neck up or from the elbows down, because you don't never know when you might have to go back into corporate workspace or what have you, and you may need to keep a more circumspect look. And they completely ignored me. My son went and got a big old cross right behind his ear, and then it reached a point in life where he decided he was considering going into the military, and he couldn't because of this tattoo, which to me is so stupid, because his twin brother is in the Air Force, and from his neck down, arms everywhere, he's covered in ink at this point. But when you first go in, you can't have those kind of tattoos, and it kept him out. Which, truthfully, I'm glad it kept him out, because I know my children, and the one that's in the Air Force has the mentality for the Air Force and the personality for it. The one that was talking about going in would have probably been going Army or Navy, and I'm very, very happy that he did not do that. You said Jaffna. You have a doubt about what, dear? Trying to see your previous comment. Uh-oh. What's your doubt about, Jaffna? You say you got a little alien. That's the only one, Cielo. That's pretty awesome. I thought about getting a lotus because I just love the idea of the lotus flower. It's such a spiritual symbol anyway, the phoenix and the lotus, but the lotus truly gets it out the mud, and that's kind of been my life. So yeah, I would definitely consider getting a lotus. What's your doubt about, Jaffna? I'm waiting. You said you put a question up in here and you just didn't. Mm, Dylan, I can't tell you don't do that, honey, but I wish I could tell you don't do that. First off, I'm glad that you miss her. I'm glad you want to memorialize her, all the rest of that stuff. But I would encourage you not to put a tattoo of your dead girlfriend on you for the same reason I would encourage anybody not to put a tattoo of any person that is not their blood relative or their child. Men that put women's tattoos on their bodies often live to regret it because you might actually have another female in your life at some point that may not be wanting to look at your dead girlfriend all the time. And that does interfere with the grieving process. Same thing I would tell a woman, don't put no man's name or image or nothing on your body. Same thing for me. Don't do that. Just don't. All the more reason. Why would you want to put that kind of jacked up energy? And again, no disrespect against the dead, but let's keep it real. You were dating a married woman. That's a effed up energy in the first place. And then she passed away, and you're going to prevent your natural grieving process from being over by putting her image on your body. That's not even psychologically healthy, child. Don't do that. Don't do that. Allow yourself to heal. I'm sure she would want you to allow yourself to heal too, now that she's transitioned. Because she had no business bothering with you in the first place as a married woman. But she did that. But now that she's transitioned, I'm sure she would tell you something different if she could. Yeah, please don't do that. And again, everything about that relationship, excuse my French, sound fucked up. Why in the world would you want to commemorate that by putting it permanently on your body? You were in a relationship with dealing with addictions, and she belonged to somebody else, and she's no longer with us, and y'all were not married. Now you want to turn around and put all of that effed up energy and permanently lace that on your body. Don't do that. Boy, you know what? Okay. Yeah. I'm not going to waste any more of my energy in this live stream with that. You already know better because you're talking about you crazy and she agrees, and then you're going to go and do something crazy like that. That's on you. I'm not going to discuss that no more because you know it's messed up. You really know it's messed up. Hey, Adubius, I'm doing well. I have not experienced ayahuasca yet. I would like to at some point. Well, I don't know. When I first started talking about it, my mentor has done it a couple times. And at the time when I first started reading about it, I knew I was not spiritually ready. I believe I'm ready now. I'm not Christian, so what do I care about whether it's Christian or not, Dylan? I'm no longer Christian. Christians are some of the most hypocritical people on the planet anyway. Christians will say ayahuasca ain't Christian, but they drink liquor and they smoke cigarettes, which is horrible. Okay, Dylan, again, I'm going to have to say I'm done with that conversation, because if some people believe she was a devil and you want to commemorate her memory by putting a married drug addict devil woman on your body, then you are inviting demonic activity into your space. If you choose to do that, you can do that. But I don't have to support that or discuss it or entertain that foolishness no more. You just saying stuff for shock value now. You're not thinking at all. You are literally courting with demons. So you can do that on your own time, Dylan Jordan. Goodbye. You know that's messed up. Hey, Niana, how are you? Or dubious? Back to the ayahuasca thing. Like I said, I considered doing it, but even now, I believe I'm spiritually ready for it. I just don't like the idea of being high for 8 hours or being out of control for 8 hours. The only way that I would continue, I mean, I would consider doing ayahuasca at this point is if either my mentor or my significant other were willing to go with me. And I do not want them taking the journey at the same time. We could stay there for a whole weekend so that they can take their journey and I can take my journey if they're willing to do that. But I would not want to take an ayahuasca journey without someone that I know and trust implicitly being there with me and sober, so that if I start losing control, they can talk me off the ledge. I don't know that shaman that I done looked up and went and rented an Airbnb somewhere in Brazil to go do ayahuasca with. I don't. Mm-mm, mm-mm. I can't. I can't fathom being high for that long or in that kind of a weird spiritual energy space for that long without someone that I know and love and know that loves me there to kind of keep me grounded and control that energy space. Yeah, no. Maurice Porter, did you hear what right, baby? Oh yeah, Lamborghini. Yeah, I don't believe in that. Doing all kind of messed up stuff that you know is wrong, and then when you get some kind of got some demon attached to you and running you crazy, then want to run up to somebody talking about, can I get a spiritual bath or pray for me? Pray for me. No, we're not doing that. We do common sense over here. Thomas Javier, there's nothing wrong with Christians drinking per se, but they so freaking hypocritical about everything else and everybody else. Anything can be done within moderation, but they will allow for that and then turn around and tell you wrong to smoke weed. But alcohol is far more dangerous and deadly and addictive than weed. Weed ain't even physically addictive at all. Cigarettes is some of the most addictive stuff on the planet next to refined sugar. And it's okay for Christians to smoke cigarettes, but they can't tell you how wrong you are to smoke weed. Like, oh, Maurice, you saying shooting again? I think he just saying stuff for shock value now. Because he started out with he wanted to tattoo his dead girlfriend on the thing, and then she got pink hair, and then she was married, and then she was addicted to drugs, and then some people she was a devil, and some people said he was crazy, and he's still arguing for his limitations. And like I said, I'm done with that. He know damn well he ain't got no business putting that woman on his body. Nobody should be putting another person on their body. Happy Friday, Shawanda. Have a wonderful weekend to you too. And happy 8-8 Lionsgate to everybody. Hey Sheila, how are you in Hot Times? Welcome to you. Dylan, you about to get silenced over here because now you literally are just jumping around for whatever reason. If you want to do that, do whatever you do. But the image that they call Jesus is not Jesus. That's Caesar Borgia. That's by buying more into the whole devil worship thing that is Christianity. So you do you and do your devil worship, but go do it quietly somewhere else. I'm not entertaining that. Hey, Erica Frank. Yeah, he just wants attention. And he got one more silly thing to say for me to just make him, I'll silence him for the next 30 minutes or 24 hours or whatever it need to be. Yeah. And again, same thing, Adubius. I thought about trying DMT first because, I mean, if ayahuasca is the mother, they said DMT is the child. So it's like DMT is like a 15-minute jump gate. I could take anything for almost 15 minutes and see if that's something that I want to explore further with the Aya trip. I really thought about that. Hey, Erica, thank you. I appreciate that. Except it ain't funny though. When you hear about somebody that's literally talking about abusing themselves spiritually, that ain't funny to me. Exactly. Thank you, CVJ. Exactly, Joseph. But here's the thing, most people do not know and understand that what they call God in the Bible is the devil. That's the problem. That's the whole reason I be on this platform talking, to try to help people see the light. People don't know that Jehovah God, Yahweh, Allah is Satan the devil. Honey, a lot of us, Erica, have gone through those experiences. We are literally walking each other home. I wasn't in the Southern Baptist household, but I was in the Deep South. I was raised in a Jehovah's Witness household. So it was Bible study, ministry school, reading the thing, get your butt toe out the frame because you got to read aloud and get all of that, all of that, all of that. I bear witness, you on your way out of here too, E. Oh yeah, now you really, because Allah El is Satan the devil, E. So you on your way out of here, E. You're not gonna keep spamming that mess up in here. You can be quiet and listen and learn if you want to, but you cannot keep spamming in here. Okay? All right. Thank you. Of course, we astral travel in our dreams. The first time I astral traveled, it was completely spontaneous and unintentional. I don't intentionally astral travel anymore. But yeah, we travel all the time in our dreams. Yeah, the gods in the Bible are Enlil and Enki. Enlil appeared, he tries to portray himself to be all good and light and all of that. But his first title when he got off the spaceship and came to Earth, he was Lord of the Command, but his first title in the Eden was Satan of the Eden. He is Satan the devil. Thank you. I love these Side your boys. Okay. Hey, Patricia, how are you? I used to try Tank Erica, and I may again at some point. But when the last time that I consciously tried to astral travel, it was several years ago. I had a bad experience, and yeah, it was a problem. So I just decided not to do it anymore. You, bye. If you feel I have a demonic energy, Joseph, leave. That's all you got to do is go. Bye bye. Because I know what I'm talking about, and Yeshua is with me. So yeah, how well we're gonna put you in timeout because I don't have time for your foolishness. Niana, do you have time or to moderate for me tonight? Can you do that, my love, or no? If you can't, it's fine. Hey, Bridget, you said we're in other dimensions beyond the veil. Kinda, yeah. Honestly, it. Thank you, Niana. I'm gonna go ahead and make you a moderator. When when we sleep and let go, we're releasing resistance. And depending on where our energy is, we may very well be taken or not taken, but I'm saying, if our vibration is high enough, we may pop. I mean, they say we spontaneously do it anyway. We literally pop out of our physical bodies because, again, our physical body is the least part of us. We have an etheric body, an energetic body, um, all of that. So we can leave that. We're still tied to it by our silver cord, but we can leave the body, and we do so when we're sleeping. Hold on. I like turtles. You're on your way out. I would recommend you, if you really, really want to stay here and learn, I recommend you don't bring the silly jokes because that's not what we're here for. No, honey, Dennis, it's goodbye, A. Lopez. You need to surrender your life to some truth because you don't have no idea what you're talking about. I have surrendered my life to Yeshua, but I don't follow demonic Christianity. Christianity is the most demonic religion on the planet, A. Lopez. You should know what you're talking about before you come with the foolishness. You said the breath of life is the sound of the way you say God. Okay. They come with all of that, but again, Erica, they're trying to say that Yahweh is God. That's why they say that the breath of life is the way you say. That's some Christian nonsense. Nonsense. Yahweh is a devil. He is a dragon, a demon. He is the devil. He hates humanity. He is not the invisible, all powerful, benevolent sky daddy that they lie to us in church and tell us he is. He is Yaldabaoth, the dragon. He came from Nibiru down here in a spaceship, lied after they created us by merging our DNA with a hominid with their DNA to create Homo sapiens. He said that we were to be treated as slaves, that we were never to know that they're not gods. He insisted on having our telomeres capped so that we would not live past 120 years. And he insisted that we have a worship gene put in us to make us worship him. He is not what people think he is. He is not the breath of life. He's a devil. Again, whoever you are, if you trapped up in the mind effery that is Islam, you ain't no better than a Christian. Christianity, Islam, and Judaism is basically the same. They all worship in the same basic God, the devil, and they don't even know it. They're so stuck in their ignorance, they do not know the nature, the true nature of the God they serve. They are serving the devil and do not know it. The eternal mother, not such as it's taught, the eternal mother is basically, if you think about the creator of all, the one, the very one from the beginning, when it decided, I should say, decided to look, I got to get you out of here because I ain't got time for your foolishness. Goodbye. When the one separated itself unto itself, the first separation was the creation of the divine masculine and divine feminine forces, not male and female, masculine and feminine. Masculine is a driving energy, female is a more nurturing, creative energy. The feminine, energy is what births. The masculine energy kind of drives creation or directs, but yeah, it births. So those would have been the first emanations of the divine, if you will. So if you want to say the eternal mother and the eternal father, then yes, in that context, I do believe in the eternal mother. Let me see. Hold on. I don't believe in religion anymore, my love. Yeshua said he didn't point nobody to religion. He told the Jews that the God that they was worshiping was not his father. The one that sent him was not Yahweh. He told them that Yahweh was the devil. Go check the Gospel of John, chapter 8, somewhere around verse 42. Read that on out. What's the difference in one dot and three dots? The way it looked. I just did that because I want to. I'm not a practicing Hindu, dear. I just like to adorn my third eye. Lord Shiva is Enki in another pantheon, so he is one of my main guides. So I wear the bindi sometimes, but I'm not a practicing Hindu. Sleep paralysis. Some people want to explain it away, Deja, by saying it's kind of with giving a psychological explanation. I do believe that it is entities messing with us. And I had a recent experience with I've had it happen a few times in childhood. And as a child, I was always taught to call on Jehovah because of my religious background. But because I've renounced Jehovah, the last time it happened, I did it out of habit. In my sleep, I started calling on Jehovah, and of course that didn't work. But the moment I said Enki said no, it stopped and I woke up. It was like in fact, I talked about it in a video. It was called 444/5 because I woke up exactly at 444 when that happened. Same here, Winlow. I'm spiritual. I'm not religious either. If I had to choose a form of spirituality, it would probably be Buddhism at this point, because Yeshua was attuned to a lot of things that really make him come across like a Buddhist monk, more so than certainly he was Christian or Jewish, but yeah. But once I turned my religious gene off, I just really got out of the need for all the pomp and circumstance and ritual and ceremony and stuff. So I do listen to mantras and chants and things like that sometime, but I'm not like a hardcore anything. I gain what wisdom I can from all of the sacred texts, but I don't have a need to bow and scrape and worship anybody. Yeah, Dennis. Yeah, and that's why I say I don't. Some people go, "Oh, I just let it happen." No, no, no. I wake up. I call on what I need to get them up off of me. I don't fool with sleep paralysis at all. The Book of Enoch. We haven't gotten into it, Astaroth, yet. I will at some point, but I'm going through Zechariah Sitchin's work first. I said I wanted to go into the Book of Enoch because he does talk about what happened when he was taken up and going to the different realms and all of those things. But if people understood what they was reading, he was taken up in a spacecraft and was shown different realms and different places in the cosmos. He was taken back to Nibiru. He was made a scribe of God. Now, God is not like we talk about invisible sky daddy. Lord Enki would have been considered one of the old gods. The Elohim, he doesn't really, that word Elohim does not mean God, it means powerful ones. And the word Anunnaki means those who to earth from heaven came. They were astronauts from another planet. Nibiru is on the other side of Pluto. But in our ignorance, we bought the Sky Daddy story, and now we so righteously indignant, like we actually know something, that these people will get up here and fuss people out and cuss them out and everything else, trying to cling to the Sky Daddy story, even though they've been digging up ancient texts up out the ground for the last 200 years to tell us that the Bible story, as we've been given it, is a lie, and the Anunnaki and Babylonian texts are much closer to the truth. But in their ignorance, Muslims, Christians, and Jews still try to hold to the Yahweh lie because they've been bamboozled and brainwashed. They rather worship a devil than be liberated by the truth. The Nephilim, the Nephilim were basically just the work. They were the children of the Watchers. The Watchers were workers that came from Nibiru to mine the gold. And according to the Lost Book of Enki, when Marduk married a human named Sarpanet, and at the wedding of Sarpanet, or after the wedding, during the reception, the wedding feast of Sarpanet and Marduk, the Watchers that had been on Mars got mad. They was like, well, if he can marry a woman, why can't we too? I'm sick of this. We'd have been out on this planet for how many thousand years? We ain't got no women. We can't get no nookie. And he go and marry a human. We go and crash this wedding, and we're gonna take humans for ourselves. And that's what they did. But it wasn't the invisible angels, sons of God that we're told in the scriptures. Do you really think if angels were exactly what we're told they are, if they actually tried to breed with humans, we would probably explode? It was another life form, part of whom's DNA we already carry because we're hybrids of their various life forms. And they came down here and made it with humans, so that their children would have even more of that blood in them. So those children were extraordinary. They were large, giants, had other powers, things like that, because instead of being half Anunnaki, now they were three-fourths Anunnaki. So they were quite different than regular human children, but they were not angels, no. A lot of folks have a lot of stories and lore and stuff around sleep paralysis, Astral, but I believe it's negative energies messing with you as well. But you can go ahead and call them spiritual baby squirrel. I get that part, but again, when your eyes open and you're ready to release the demon, you will. That idea of being loyal to God is result of your programming. We're taught to believe that the God of the Bible is actually God. He is not. And once you get to a point where you progress along, again, I'm not trying to tell nobody to just throw it down, because it takes some time. You don't turn the worship gene off overnight. It can happen overnight, but for most people that's been under that intensive programming their whole life, it's not an overnight process. Just keep learning and growing and doing what you can do, and in time, the light bulb will click on for you one day. And if I'm telling you now, when it happened, you're gonna be angry at first. You're gonna be mad as hell when you find out how you've been lied to. Because I was mad for a good minute. Don't let that sway you. Just keep meditating. Again, cling to Yeshua, and you're gonna be just fine. A hag is another word for a demon. They call a witch, but truthfully, it's like energetic entities. Erica, yeah, religion is man-made, and honey, I'm encouraged to hear you say that. You saying the universe. You keep seeing me when you get on here. The universe has plans. I hope so, because Yeshua has put it on my heart that I have to speak this. This is basically the same thing that he was speaking when he was here on the earth, and they unalived him for it. But he is back in the energetic sense around the planet, and he is communicating with multiple people. It ain't just me. I'm not the only one that's a messenger of Yeshua right now, but I am being guided to continue to speak this regardless of the trolls and regardless of the whatever, because it's a message that humanity is ready to hear. Well, whether they're ready or not, they need to hear it now. There is somewhat of a sense of urgency because of where we are in the timelines and the way we've been jumping timelines and having paradigm shifts and all that other stuff. But it's time for us to break the cycle of ignorance that has kept humanity stuck for 2,500 years. It's time. Ryan, I don't know why you think there's no such thing as space. That's a rather narrow-minded view anyway. That's very arrogant for a human to think that there's no such thing as space. Why would you think that? You really so arrogant? You think that we're the only thing that's out here in the entire cosmos? We got telescopes that can prove that's a lie. You don't think there's nothing past the Milky Way galaxy? The Milky Way is a very tiny galaxy in the cosmos. There's thousands of galaxies out there. Yeah, Dennis, it honestly does. And where, like I said, the reason, I think a reason that I had issues with Sky Daddy is fun to say, Erica. Part of the issues that I had with my frequency was when I really started going in on this Yahweh stuff. And I had some trolls really, really coming after me. And I had gone to bed. I got really, really tired, forgot to take the salt bath, forgot to shut my energy down for the evening, didn't call in my angel guys. I normally call in like Archangel Michael and Raphael to kind of guard over me. And I didn't do any of that. And I had paralysis that night, but it was fine. Honestly, Astaroth, the story of Gilgamesh, they started, if you read the story of Gilgamesh is fine, but go back and read the Lost Book of Enki. Gilgamesh already had started taking a lot of the Babylonian poetic license, if you will. I read the Lost Book of Enki, and then I read read Atrahasis and the Enuma Elish, and you could see where the Babylonians had started deviating away from the original story. In my opinion, the Lost Book of Enki tells the story with the least amount of dramatic spin to it. He was genuinely interested in allowing humans to know what happened, the good, the bad, and the ugly. He didn't try to glorify the things that he did that was wrong. He didn't put too much stank on anybody else's. It was just like this one did this and this one did this, and we probably shouldn't have did this, but we were desperate and we did that. He really tells it in a very matter of fact way without all of the drama, like Marduk when he was busy talking about how he killed Tiamat and all of that. And I'm like, you weren't even born yet when Tiamat disappeared. But in the Babylonian epic, now all of a sudden he done went out there and whooped Tiamat's ass. Like it gets a little, it starts getting very fictional in the Babylonian stories for drama's sake. Oh yeah, Nicole, they don't want us to learn the truth because it would be all over. Religion would be shut down and most of the political systems too. Oh, I appreciate you, Astral. Let me catch up on some of this reading. I read too slow, so trying to catch up. Yeah, Astaroth, they were, it was an ancient Sumerian, and that was one of the reasons why I was led to examine Zechariah Sitchin's work, because he could not only read ancient Hebrew and why can't I never remember that other language? Anyway, but he also could um, read Sumerian cuneiform. And so he translated all of those works, and it was that, yeah, I was just led to look at that, and I was able to see how that gave a different context to the Bible story after reading the Lost Book of Enki. It blew the lid off of all of this for me. Winlow, the Bible been rewritten a whole bunch of times because truthfully, what we call the Bible, they present this like it's one book. It's not. And it wasn't even all at the same time. And initially, there was like 60 more books in it besides this one. They cherry picked through a lot of the ancient texts that they found when they uncovered the Dead Sea Scrolls and the library at Nineveh and all of that. And when they went through and picked those out, then they put this all together and presented it as if it's one continuous story. It is not. Oh, we don't necessarily have to talk about Lionsgate, Erica. I mean, it's we're gonna be in the energy of it probably until the 12th or more. But yeah, Emanon, people talk about monitoring spirits, but honestly, I don't put a whole lot of store in that either. Appear you on your way up out of here too. One more than whatever that's just some foolishness. But anyway, Bilal, if you don't know what I'm talking about, be quiet or be gone. I'm trying to tell you. The thing is, hold on. Somebody made a comment talking about trust in God. That's one of the reasons I don't mess with too much of the Gnostic teachings, because it is confusing to folks that don't understand both. But I don't need to be. You saying unless you're familiar with church history, it's going to derail you, as if church history is the rail. Church history is the derailing. That's what people don't understand. The Gnostic beliefs go way back further than the church. Most Christians do not understand real church history. Christianity was created by Constantine, who was not a believer in Yeshua and was not a Christian. He was a sun worshiper who just wanted to create a unified religion to unify his kingdom. But those are the same people, the same Romans that unalive Yeshua is the same Romans that created Christianity and then turned around and knit the man that they unalived in the middle of their lie and sold it as him being the hero of the story, when that's not the case at all. It was a vehicle to push Yahwism out into the rest of the world. So instead of just the Jews worshiping Yahweh, then they wanted to push it out so everybody would. And they did on the end of a spear. They unalived 80 million people to install Christianity around the world. But that don't make it the truth. It just means that it was the most violent religion, and the most aggressive. That's all. Yahweh wasn't shit back then. He was a displaced Elohim in a land full of other Elohim, and he conned Moses and Abram into following him, so that after he had been exiled, he needed a land and he needed some people to worship him. He didn't have either, and he was able to con Abram first, and then 500 years later, Moses, into agreeing to serve him. But he was not the only Elohim active on the planet. He hijacked the story and spun that lie and got people in their ignorance to go along with it. But he ain't never kept his promises. He's always been very violent and misogynistic. He was a grapist. He was some of everything else. He has never been a good dude in any pantheon he has ever showed up in since the Anunnaki days. And when Yeshua tried to tell the Jews that they was worshiping the wrong Elohim, he said, the father that sent me, you don't know my father. You worship your father, the devil. And they hated him so bad for saying that they unalived him. And then 300 years later, wrote this lie of a religion and plopped him in the middle of it as if he was promoting it. He didn't promote this mess. He was warning people against it. And they got the whole world tied up in that mess. And you saying, if you're familiar with church history, it's going to derail you. No, Gnosticism might free you from the lie. It ain't going to derail you. Hey, story time. How are you? I'm sorry, I'm just seeing you. Bilal, you on your way out of here too. No, I'm not going to talk about Gaza too much because honestly, the only thing I can really say about Gaza, because I'm not going to put modern day politics in it, the FBI done been in my room one time already, and I really don't want to have them back up in it. But the only thing that I can really say about Gaza is the same thing that been saying about the Israelites the entire time. Moses and Abraham chose poorly. Yahweh is a liar. He promised the promised land to Abram way back when he told when Abram first left Ur and went out into the desert. Yahweh promised the land of Canaan to Abram right then. I have no idea, Zara. They just popped in here and said they was in here. When I went and checked the page, it was the FBI page with 200 and something thousand followers on it. Oh, I know what it was. I did a video. I said something about one of something or something. Our butterflies did a thing a couple weeks ago where they had a conversation with Chat GPT, and I did a video about that conversation and was speaking on it. And then I had done a video where I was talking about the lost book of Enki, where it was talking about the weapons of terror. And I said, people don't think that what I'm talking about is the truth, but the government thought that it was the truth because when the Lost Book of Enki was published in 2002, it was shortly after that book was copyrighted that the entire focus of the Gulf War shifted focus away from bin Laden and onto Hussein. And all of a sudden, they had to go find the weapons of mass destruction, which sound remarkably like the weapons of terror that were described in the Lost Book of Enki. Again, trust in God. You keep trusting in that God if you want to. I'm trying to tell you, Yahweh, if you actually understood real history, not just what the church approves and leaks out to you, the rest of the story, Yahweh was not being worshiped by the Israelites before Abram. There was plenty of other Elohim in that before that portion of the Bible. Whatever was going around in Abram's father was a temple scribe in the temple of Nanar Sin. That was a temple dedicated to Nanar, and then later Sin, it got merged and became the moon god in the singular. But they were still worshiping Inanna, they were still worshiping Enki, they were still worshiping Marduk, they were still worshiping. It was a lot of different Elohim was here. Marduk and Yahweh or Enlil was two of the nastiest of the two Elohim. They wanted sovereignty and they wanted worship. They were bloodthirsty, hateful, evil somebody, so much so that both of them had been exiled by their own Elohim and people. They were exiled. And when they came out of exile, they were still showing their ass. Go read the texts. Yahweh had lost his land and did not have a people. And he got in Abram's ear and said, if you agree to serve me, I'll make your name a mighty people and I will give you the land of Canaan. And he never gave it to him. He promised him a son in his old age, and it took him 25 years to fulfill that promise. And then 500 years later, the nation of Israel had been taken back into captivity. They did not have the land of Canaan. They were in captivity in Egypt, and Yahweh came back. And this time he came back and got Moses and said, yo, Moses, if you go into the challenge the Pharaoh for me, I'm going to give you some little magic tricks and a little razzle dazzle to take care of it. But if you get these people out of Egypt for me, I'll deliver y'all to the land of Canaan. Now, that's the second time he done promised the land and still didn't deliver it to them either. It took them 40 years to get to a land that should have only took them 11 weeks to get to. And by the time they got there, it was still full of giants and everything else. He didn't clear the land for them. He was a liar. And they still fighting over that same damn piece of land to this day that Yahweh keep promising them and never actually gave it to them. And he told us, in the scriptures, he said that the Israelites were a stiff-necked people and he washed his hands of them. Cyphermatic, you on your way out of here. And baby squirrel, I don't know what you talking about, but okay. Tim Sickles, Jesus is not the only son of God, but it does say that he's a son of God. But the question is, which God? That's the point that people don't understand in Christianity, because they genericize this book and put God everywhere the Elohim is. Elohim is not singular. It means powerful ones in the plural. So there was more than one Elohim in the scriptures. When Jesus got baptized and the sky opened up and and the voice was heard from the heavens that said, this is my son, the beloved, whom I have approved. That was not Yahweh that was saying that, because why would Yeshua turn around 8 chapters into John and say firmly that Yahweh was not his father? He said that the Elohim that the Jews were worshiping is not the Elohim that sent him. So he was the son of God, but not the God of the Bible that we've been sold. He was Enki's son, not Enlil's son. That's the part that has humanity lost and stuck in the middle of this lie. My thoughts about Gilgamesh and Enkidu. Enkidu was like a android, if you will. They said that Enkidu did not have a soul. He was created to keep company of whoever it was that was going to Nibiru, but he was not an actual human. He was kind of like a blank. But as far as Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh is basically the story of Noah. He's Ziazudra in some epics. He's Gilgamesh and others are, yeah. Oh, actually, Gilgamesh was the one that went down and got the flower, wasn't he? Wait a minute. Angels, hot times, the word angel just means messenger. And truthfully, what we call angels are extraplanetary creatures, beings, not say creatures, they're beings. Anunnaki, Pleiadian, Arcturian, what have you, other dimensional beings, but they are beings. They're not what we have been taught as Christians to believe they are. I don't need to type out Yahweh for you. You know how you plenty of folks can put it here in the thing, and you can go and look it up. Google will tell you. I don't need to tell you. Why would you want to go read about Yahweh? Deja, yes, the Elohim are still living. They lived hundreds of thousands of years according to the Sumerian kings list. And you have to remember, it seems like ancient history to us because we only live 100 years if we're fortunate. But the flood only happened about 3,600 years ago, maybe 4,000 years at tops. Ashar, one of their years on Nibiru is 3,600 years. So everything that happened in the Bible, everything that happened in the Bible, other than chapter 1 of Genesis, happened within 2 years of their time on Nibiru. They still alive. They ain't went nowhere. It seems like ancient history to us, but it's not to them. I don't know about that, Nicole, about David and his sexuality. That don't even matter to me. Multi-category video. You say you a school driver in Egypt. That's immaterial to what we talking about either. And no, I'm not a psychic swimmingly. I am a clairaudient, spontaneous channel and a tarot reader, but I'm not a psychic. I haven't opened myself up to read energies from random dead people. No. The word Abba just means father. That's not a name, Charles Bennett. But anyway, and again, we have a genericized version of these scriptures. They took all the other Elohim's names out of them. So if you just turn around and say what Jesus said according to this book, you really don't know what all Jesus said. Because they put very little of what Jesus actually said about this much of the Bible. Maybe this much of the Bible is what Jesus said, and the rest of it is a bunch of crap that they put around it. So you really can't use that as an accurate reference. I'm so sorry. Who is Jesus in relation to the Elohim story time? I believe the scriptures in John 1:1 says he is Elohim, which would have actually been El Shaddai, son of the Elohim. Let's look at it and read it the way it should have been, most likely. And again, We don't have the original translation. I get that part. But what is here is very telling if you know what you're looking at. John chapter 1 says, in the beginning was the Word. Now, interestingly enough, Yeshua was referred to as the Word, and so was Thoth in the Emerald Tablets. It says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with the Elohim, and the Word was Elohim, or El Shaddai, sons of the Elohim. He was in the beginning with the Elohim. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So truthfully, in my opinion, Yeshua is the second incarnation of Thoth. Story time. I don't know. That's not why the snake sheds his skin. We've been given a lot of lies and lore around that whole snake thing. Again, Yahweh painted the issue as if the snake was the problem in the Garden of Eden because Lord Enki was known for dealing with serpents. And the first mystical school was the Brotherhood of the Serpent, but it was not bad. But people also failed to realize Yahweh was a snake handler himself. The first trick that he gave Moses to do was to throw his staff on the ground and turn it into a serpent. And then the magic practicing priests threw their staff on the ground and they became serpents too. And then Moses' snake ate their snakes. When the nation of Israel was out there, he sent poisonous snakes in amongst them to bite them and then put a snake up on a pole, the copper serpent that they had to look at to keep from dying. Yahweh was just as much of a snake handler as Enki was. That is another superstitious lie that we've been given to further confuse us. Ain't nothing wrong with snakes. Bro, 100, yeah. 3,600 years is 1 year. It is one Anunnaki year or shar to an Elohim. That will trust in God. Now you getting down to the real nitty gritty because the Gnostic accuse you of sun worship because the religion was made by a sun worshiper. And yes, the scripture is very hypocritical and warning against things that it does. It tells you not to do divination and stuff too, but half of the rituals and the stuff that Christianity does is nothing but demonic rituals, pagan rituals, black magic rituals, binding spell rituals all throughout Christianity because it was made by people that were not Christian, that did not believe in Yeshua and were not teaching the things that Yeshua taught. And that's the true irony and hypocrisy of Christianity. People get attracted to the religion because they say they love Jesus, but there's nothing Christ-like in Christianity at all. It flies directly in the face of everything that Jesus was actually teaching. They were so not in love with Jesus and his teachings that they killed him for teaching the things that he was teaching, and then turn around and flip the script and told the world that we should be worshiping Jesus because Jesus wanted us to do this. No, he didn't. He was telling them not to do this, and that's what they killed him for. And people have been bamboozled and blinded into believing that Christianity is about Jesus. No, it ain't. It's about Yahweh. And Yahweh is the very thing that Jesus was warning the Jews to walk away from. That's why I continue to speak out, even though people don't want to hear it. They completely miss the entire message of Jesus and continue to perpetuate a lie cooked up by the very same people that killed Jesus, whom they claim they love so much. They are literally worshiping the thing that unalived, the one that they claim is their savior. And Jesus told us that a deceiver would come along shortly after he died. He said, after they do what they do, there will come along one who will deceive humanity and lead them lost. And damn if the Apostle Paul didn't come in right on cue and plunked himself down as a self-appointed apostle and wrote 3/4 of the New Testament to basically tell all of the people that had been following Jesus that they was dead ass wrong and they wasn't shit, and this is what they need to do moving forward, and people went for it. How do I learn this stuff? Reading a whole lot of books and listening to a whole lot of stuff. It means, oh Val, when you woke up at 3:33 with a sound like a doorbell ringing, spirit is trying to get your attention, and 3:33 is a Christic number, so you're probably being called awakening a sin. Absolutely. I can't read all of this stuff. Yeshua did, baby squirrel, he only gave us 2 commandments. It ain't the first two, he only gave us 2. Love God with your whole heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Those are the only 2 he gave us. But you got to have enough intelligence and discernment to understand which Elohim he was referring to, because it damn sure wasn't Yahweh. That part. All of us have an Elohim bloodline, Maurice. If we didn't, we'd still be hanging out of a tree somewhere, scratching our butts and dragging our knuckles on the ground. The thing that got us from the hominid that they um, modified to Homo sapiens sapiens was mixing their DNA with the hominid that they found here's blood. They created a new species by genetically, like I said, they genetically modified a hominid that they found here. So all of us, if we're intelligent enough to hold a book in our hands and read it and have a conversation, we have Elohim or Anunnaki blood in us. Honestly, story time, it's not even so much Pollyanity, it's Yahwism. The Jews were worshiping Yahweh. They made a bad choice. Too ignorant, very undereducated. I'm not saying they weren't well intentioned, and I'm not trying to cast aspersions, but let's be real. A cat that's roaming around out in the desert that's want to just randomly decide to go and talk to somebody that ain't even showing their face to them, that's talking behind a bush, a flaming bush, that tell them that they're a god, and you go and leave your family, leave everything else to follow a bloodthirsty god that tells you that every other turn, every time you piss him off, he tell you he gonna kill you for this, that, and the third, and yet you still choose to follow him. You ain't too sharp. You not the sharpest tool in the shed. But that's exactly what Abram and Moses turned around and did, and got all of humanity traipsing behind to follow the deity, the Elohim that Abraham and Moses chose to follow, because they told a convincing enough lie. Humanity stuck on stupid because it was told a convincing enough lie, and chose to continue following that lie because somebody grandmama told somebody grandmama told somebody grandmama. Yahweh ain't never kept his promises, and Paul said that in Hebrews 11:40. Not one of the people is in that scripture. It literally says, not one of the faithful men and women of old mentioned in this book ever saw their promises fulfilled on this side of life. None of them. And yet they still doggedly cling to the fact that Yahweh is the way to go, the way and the truth and the light. Bull crap. honestly, it's the truth. Yeah, this is weird, and the Torah is weird because they worship the same deity, and the Quran ain't much better because El is another. Basically, still ropes back to that Marduk Yahweh thing. They are all the Abrahamic religions, and they following this ignorant behind space cadet astronaut that came here and lied and purported himself to be a god when he is not. Charles, you on your way out of here. The fact that I got three bendy on my head ain't got nothing to do with evil or blindness or nothing else. It's just a look to go with this purple dress that I'm wearing. I wear a bendy every day, but the number of three is not evil. Go look it up, honey. It's a Christic number. Tesla and all of them was on some 369 time. In the scriptures, three is an important number. What's the alternative? Open your mind and understand that we are not supposed to be worshiping anything. Yeshua said, did I not tell ye are gods? You are Elohim. And we're not supposed to be worshiping anything. Respect and cooperate with, yes. Worship, no. We're not supposed to be worshiping anything. Go look at Buddhism. Go look at Taoism. Go look at some of that. That's a nice alternative. If you like the idea of ritual and ceremony, and while you're trying to get your worship gene under control, go look at one of those. But we're not supposed to be worshiping Yahweh or none of the rest of that. I'm definitely not getting into a whole 369 discussion here. If you got to ask that question at this point, you probably not ready for this conversation. That's all I'll say. Go look it up. Tesla and 369. It'll blow your mind, Maurice. But we're not going there right now. Yeah, to some degree. You're saying that languages are created, but you also have to remember part of the dissemination of our languages was also a divisive tactic done by Yahweh. They tell you about that in the scriptures with the Tower of Babel. There was a lot more open communication and unity before then, but humanity was expanding too far, and he got pissed off about that and didn't like the idea that our consciousness could equal theirs, and he deliberately scrambled their languages and flung them to all parts around the earth. Now, fortunately, many of the Elohim went with them so that they wasn't just out there completely devolved. But one of the things that I was talking about, and I got to do that video at some point, in the 12th planet, it was saying how the anthropologists noticed that we suddenly jumped the evolutionary timeline, as it were, when the Adamic line showed up, and then over a course of approximately 100,000 years or so, the line began showed that civilization was beginning to regress again, and then 11,000 years or so ago, it got bolstered up again and became more intelligent, or civilized man came on the scene, and that's exactly what Enki said in the Lost Book. Adam and Eve were created. He noticed their line was devolving. He began to mate with humans and re-establish the bloodline. And when Adapa and Titi were born, that was the introduction of what they call civilized man. So anthropologists are digging up stuff out the ground that basically verifies what Enki put in the book. They didn't want to believe Sitchin when he translated that work, but he didn't make that up. He wasn't a work of fiction. None of Sitchin's works are fiction. He translated just ancient texts that he translated. And apparently everything that scientists have been able to dig up verifies everything that was put in those texts. He translated them faithfully. Again, but which God story time? That's the point. And that's what people don't understand. They all still want to run back and love God, but they want to love Yahweh. Yahweh ain't gave them no reason to love him, none whatsoever. No thinking person who actually knows the nature of Yahweh would love Yahweh at all. But we are taught not to think and not to ask questions within religion. We just accept the lie, put our heads down, and keep it moving. But when you actually start understanding the nature of the God of the Bible, then you understand that ain't the one you want to be loving. We are supposed to be self-actualizing. Hey, Unique. What's up, baby? Exactly. Shiamo, there's not supposed to be anything above us, but again, we've been sold the idea and been doing so much bowing and scraping and being told we're not worthy and we're dirty and we need to shed blood of Jesus to buy back our sinful state and all the rest of that stuff. Humanity don't even know who they are. We have been so browbeaten with that we believe we are dirty and unworthy and less than everything when we're really not. Like you said, that we kind of a big deal in the universe and we don't even get that. It's not a point for us to be braggadocious or egotistical, because there's a whole lot of folks here doing a whole lot of ignorant shit that really don't make them be a big deal anymore. But as creation, we are one of the newest sentient beings in the cosmos, and we're different in that we are a co-creation between the creator of all and the Anunnaki. He didn't tell them to go do that, but once they did it, he was down for it and said that we were to be maintained and we're supposed to be here. So we are kind of a big deal. Wait a minute, you said the universe showed you and this lady's soul connect before you got intimate. How would you focus on yourself if it was you? If you've been shown that that's a divine counterpart and your souls are connected, that might truly be a kingdom spouse or a twin flame, as long as both of y'all's energy is in the right place and y'all are not otherwise attached to each other, Kerbor. Do what you do. Just make sure that you're both spiritually aligned, because sometimes, even if it's a soulmate, if they're not at a point where they're ready or they still have energy attachments and other focus from other things, it could still be not as good as you'd like for it to end up being. But if you've done all of that and all of that checks out, enjoy. Sacred love, we're all being drawn back to sacred sexuality and sacred union. So yeah, do you. Because in that kind of relationship, you are exponentially more powerful together than either of you would be alone. When you come together in that kind of sacred energy, yeah. Baby squirrel, go back and read the book, the rainbow. And again, Yahweh tells the lie that he's the one that made that covenant of the rainbow and a promise and it was with Noah. It's not to Abraham, but it was with Noah. But it wasn't Yahweh that made that promise. Yahweh wanted all of us to drown in the flood. He said, do not tell them it's coming. We're going to just pull up our spaceships and leave. And when we come back, we'll restart all over again. He was mad as hell when he found out that some of us survived the flood. It was Lord Enki that gave the dimensions of the vessel and gathered the essences and had Noah build ark, because Noah, Ziazudra, was Enki's flesh and blood son. He mated with a human, and Ziazudra, Noah, was a half-breed hybrid Anunnaki being. And when they knew the flood was coming, Enlil, Yahweh, wanted all humans to drown, and Enki did not want to do that. He wanted to save his son. And a messenger from the creator of all, the messenger's name was Galzu, came to Lord Enki in a dream and said that humanity was supposed to be preserved, and gave Enki the dimensions of how to build the vessel that would be prepared for the flood. And he went and did that, told Ziazudra what to say to get this neighborhood people to help him. And they gathered the DNA specimens or essences for the various animals and packed those away in an acacia chest inside of the ark as well. And then the flood came. God did not cause the flood, but they could not prevent it either. But Yahweh wanted all of humanity to drown in that flood. Enki saw to it that humanity was preserved in the flood. And then Yahweh came along and told a lie in the Hebrew scriptures and took credit for saving humanity during the flood, but he was not the one that did it. It was Enki, and it was Ninmah or Isis that made the vow that humanity would never be destroyed by water again, and gave the rainbow as a covenant. It was not Yahweh, according to texts that are much older than the Bible. Yeah, Yahweh didn't do nothing but sit on his butt and make orders and accept worship and slavery. Enki and them. Enki was the astronaut. He was into what's why can't I think? What do they call meteorology? He mapped out the oceans and planned the weather planet thing, astronomy, astrology, science, philosophy, our first mystery schools, agriculture. All of that was Lord Enki. Enlil didn't do nothing but sit on his ass and complain, and then walked in and took credit for everything that Enki did. He got mad when Enki told the truth, and Eve turned her worship gene off, and then he painted Enki as a devil and took credit to literally snatch worship from humanity all around the planet, and has lied to humanity and kept us lost and stuck to do so. Thank you, warrior above, within, without. I appreciate you. You're welcome, Kerbar. And you're very welcome, Zenny. Absolutely. Shiamo, we are, like I said, and I keep likening it to playing a video game. You know how early on in the video game you might get out over and over and over again, and we've done that in plenty of past lifetimes. Most of the people that are on the planet now are old souls who are coming back, but we done leveled up. We ain't getting knocked out the game quite so soon. We're here to fight the big pit boss at the end of the round now. And you're right. We are at some place we've never been in the game before, and we are rewriting the story. It ain't going down like old boy tried to lie and say it's go down. But in order for us to be able to do that, we've got to break that old programming and stop believing Yahweh's lies and his hype. Yeah, well, whether the rainbow in and of itself, story time, is a phenomena that happens because of the way moisture turns around and reacts in the atmosphere as a prism. But when it was seen, it was Isis that felt regret over what happened with the flood. It was not Yahweh. Yahweh was mad when he found out we survived. Isis had regret because she loved Enlil. She wanted to marry him at one point, but she was forbidden to marry. She had a baby for him, and she had a baby for her other brother, Enki, as well. But when they were debating whether or not to preserve us during the flood, they took it back to the council on Nibiru. And she was on Enlil's side because he had been so convincing and blah, blah, blah. But after she saw the devastation and what happened, it said that she felt regret that she had sided with him. Enki was on, like I said, on each turn, every time, Lord Enki has always tried to champion our cause and went to bat for us, and he's always stood pretty much alone. Enlil has been literally wanting us gone almost since we first got here. Once they got enough gold to save their planet, he was done with us. He didn't give a damn if every one of us died after that because he got what he needed and he was ready to go. He doesn't see us as their progeny. He doesn't see us as their children. He sees us as little more than roaches, as animals, as slaves, something to be discarded when he's done with us. Lord Enki understood that the only way that they could get the workforce that they needed was to give us their DNA. And once we became sentient and we had their DNA, he loves us like his children now. So he goes to bat for us in ways that Yahweh never has and never will. You said white horses you seen in heaven. You was told they were for a great day. Well, there is a white horse that shows up in Revelation, along with the pale horse and the dark horse. It's like the four horsemen of the apocalypse. One of them is a white horse. So I don't know. What do I know about the great day? I really do believe that we are coming up on, again, I feel like I look at Revelation a little differently than most people. I think that it describes the final skirmish in the Anunnaki war that have been going on. The Anunnaki wars have been going on this planet for a long, long, long time. But Yahweh is going, he was exiled before and that didn't work. He's going to be completely deposed this time, whether he's unalived or sent to a containment camp in another realm. I don't know, but he is going to be completely disabled off this planet so that he can no longer harm humanity. Erica, that don't sound nutty. Yeah, story time. They promised that humans would not be destroyed completely by water anymore. Truthfully, they've kind of committed between Thoth and Enki and Isis. They have committed to preserve humanity and to stick around and help us expand our consciousness, to help us break free of the mental trap and binding spells of Marduk and Enlil. Yeah, Enki and Isis and Thoth have committed to do that. Um, but they said that the next calamity, it wouldn't be water anyway, it would be fire. That was one of the reasons why they want to have a plan in place to spare as much of humanity as they can when that happens, because it's not the calamities that they're talking about, they're not causing them. They can't prevent them, but they can preserve us through them if we are at a point where we can be preserved. And that will basically depend on whose consciousness has expanded to a point to be able to accept the truth and set aside the lie. Those who continue to follow after Yahweh, they're going to be destroyed with Yahweh, because that way of thinking is a poison to the planet. It's a poison to our intelligence, to our psyche. That way of being, that murder, death, kill, it's okay to rape, it's okay to be, all of that stuff that they're doing right now. The planet cannot sustain itself much longer with the type of mess that's happening on it right now. And it's according to Revelation, people that continue to walk along in that way will be destroyed. It does mention, I mean, hell is not for humans, but Revelation does say that a third of the population of the earth will be destroyed because they continue to follow Yahweh. They call Jesus, who they call Jesus, the word Jesus means hail Zeus. That beautiful being that they unalived 1700 years or 2000 years ago, Isa ben Nazariah, Yeshua Hamashiach, he's still around energetically. He's an ascended master. He ain't going nowhere. Yeah, Desiree, I remember the grandfather from the movie Holes. What about it? Story time is not a covenant to protect anyone from fire, but again, if you read the book of Revelation, the last 3 chapters of Revelation, if you read it with new understanding, it will help you see that all of humanity is not going to go down like that. That last 3 chapters, chapter 20, describes Satan the devil being bound for 1,000 years, and then he's let out for a time to do his worst. And in my opinion, I can't prove it, but from what I've read and what I understand of world history, I believe that he was already bound for the 1,000 years. I believe what we're going through right now is the short time that he was to be let out to do his worst amongst humanity. And I believe that pretty much that period started about 500 years ago, and it's ramping down now. That's just my opinion again, but just from reading the scriptures the way I have, I do believe that once this all comes to a head, it says that he's going to be completely incapacitated in whatever form that takes in the lake of fire. And then Revelation 21 describes another Elohim descending with this base camp, this New Jerusalem, coming down to reestablish order in peace. It says he's going to basically clean up the planet. He's going to heal humanity. He's going to get rid of their crying, their outcry, the poverty, the disease, all of that stuff, and he's going to commune peacefully with mankind for 1,000 years. And again, I believe that's a symbolic number, but at least 1,000 years. And that's how the book of Revelation ends. So it's not a spelled out covenant, but that whole book kind of serves as a covenant. Maurice Porter, I don't have a Cash App. I had some serious problems with Cash App, and I actually just had a girlfriend that got hacked, and her money was stolen out of her bank account through her Cash App, and Cash App wouldn't even help her in that scenario. So I don't go back to Cash App. I have a Buy Me a Coffee link, and it is on the About page on my channel as well as the home page. It's an active link there. If you tap that link that's on the About page, it'll take you to the Buy Me a Coffee link. I think you can use Cash App through Buy Me a Coffee, but the Buy Me a Coffee link is my only payment gateway at this time. And I do, if anyone does wish to donate to the channel, it will be greatly appreciated. Hopefully I'll get approved so that we can do super thanks and super chat soon. But for now, the Buy Me a Coffee link is the only one that I have. Thank you, Patricia. And how you doing, my love? I didn't even see that you had come on in here. Yay, welcome. I'm not a fortune teller voice band. I am a tarot reader and a spontaneous channel, as well as a mystic, and I study the ancient texts and stuff. If you wish to have a tarot reading, I've been told that my tarot readings are wicked accurate, though. So if you wish to have a private reading, you can email me at modernmysticmessages@gmail.com, and we can make arrangements for a private reading if you'd like to have that. But yeah, I'm not a fortune teller. I don't honestly, Maurice, I don't think we have to reverse the story in Revelation. We just have to understand, again, this Bible reads, I don't think that the Bible is necessarily a complete lie. There are some intentional mistranslations of a few things in there, and some over genericizing by removing the names and things to try to create the impression of there only being one Elohim when there were more than one. But if you understand that everywhere that you see God, it should say Elohim or El Shaddai, and it is plural, it means the powerful ones or the sons of the powerful ones. And if you understand that the Elohim are not magical, invisible sky daddies, but they are actually astronauts from Nibiru and beyond, then that will help gain some context and understanding to this. And because if you do that, once you go to Revelation, like I said, Revelation 20 tells us that Yahweh, it says Satan the devil in Revelation 20, but if you understand that Yahweh is Satan, once Satan is out of the way, Enlil finishes up the book. So it's not like you got to rewrite it or flip the script. It's letting you know that basically in Genesis, when it says, let us make man in our image, that was Yahweh. No, it wasn't. That was Enki and Isis and Thoth. That is the let us make man in our image part. Genesis chapter 5, it gets, and people say that Genesis means genes of Isis. By the time you get to Genesis chapter 5, and again, I need to go back and read the surrounding chapters as well to see, but I noticed when I was reading Genesis 5, all of the names that are listed in Genesis 5 with who begat who, and then they had sons and daughters, and then they lived so many years, and then they died. And then it talks about the one that they had, and that one begat who, and he had sons and daughters, and he lived so many years, and then he died. That's all that Genesis chapter 5 has. But all of those names in Genesis chapter 5 are hybrid Anunnaki offspring. Probably Genesis, if Genesis is the genes of Isis, chapter 5 could probably be labeled the exploits of Enki, because Enlil hated humans. He did not inbreed with human women, but Enlil did not. Enki very much did so, and all of those it mentions like Kenan and Kenan and Noah and Enoch and Lamech and all of the different ones all the way down chapter 5. And all of those people that are listed in Genesis 5 are also listed in the lost book of Enki as being hybrids. Story time, yeah. Yahweh is evil, like just wicked, and Enki is more compassionate. Like I said, none of them are perfect. So we need to get that notion of the all-knowing Alpha Omega, invisible, all-powerful Sky Daddy. We need to nix that. That's a Yahweh lie. They are beings. They did right, they did wrong. They had foibles, they had affairs, they had made mistakes, they made wise choices, they made not so wise choices. They were not perfect. They are powerful and way older than us. Had a whole lot of super cool technology so that they were able to pull off the notion of them being gods, but they're not gods. But yeah, Yahweh is more along the lines of pure evil. And Enki is more compassionate. He does have a love for humanity. Honestly, bro, 100, I hope they get him completely off the planet. Enoch, in the book of Enoch, he describes one of the realms that he saw as basically a prison realm for the watchers and the ones who had misled humanity and delivered like dark magic and things like that to them. The ones that's in the basement of the earth, or the halls of Amenti, if you will, are the 32 and the dweller. They actually are here for our good. Enlil, his Yahweh done showed his behind for so long in so many ways. He's been exiled. That didn't work. He has zero remorse. I hope they get him completely off this planet. I can't breathe easy till he's off here entirely. Him and all his minions, they need to go. They've been showing their ass for hundreds of thousands of years on this planet. They need to go. Story time. What's behind Thoth, Enki, and Isis? Who made them? They daddy Anu. They all got the same daddy. He up on Nibiru right now. They are literal. Well, Thoth doesn't. Enki is Thoth's daddy. Isis and Enki are sisters and brother. They're sister and brother from the same daddy, different mothers. Enlil is their brother too, by the same daddy, different mother. He just got a nasty disposition. He was nasty on Nibiru, he nasty here. But on Nibiru, everybody else was just as powerful as he was, so he couldn't do this whole deception and lying and the slavery and all of this and that. He couldn't show his behind on Nibiru like he did here. And that's why I say he just need to be off this planet, period, because he don't know how to act. But Enki and Isis are scientists, and like I said, they just are more compassionate, more loving beings. But Enki was like that. He was trying to teach people that to be a little different than, because obviously the morality on Nibiru is kind of shitty. It ain't like what it was. It just really isn't. And he was trying to teach people a more compassionate way, even on Nibiru. Mordecai, that's funny. I believe that, Erica. Um, You say it started. I don't know what started with what or what you talk about with that story time. Truthfully, what the situation here on Earth started with the Babylonian priest kings when they at one point in time the first priests or the first kings on Earth were direct they were appointed by the Anunnaki. They were direct Anunnaki hybrids, all the rest of that. When they stopped directly ruling and started delegated the priesthood to humans, and that whole power thing and power and corruption, too much power in the hands of the wrong people that are not intellectually or spiritually ready for it, it does corrupt. Cielo, I call on Lord Enki and Thoth pretty much. Those are my main Elohim guides, and Yeshua, of course. That way like I say, I don't know who all is what, and I don't want to get in a whole lot. I don't have room to sort through a whole lot of deities. So the ones that I became clairaudiently linked with Yeshua several years ago, and then through meditation and time and whatnot later on, I was brought into this information and kind of was able to make the switch and understand I asked, though I specifically wanted to know the nature of Yahweh, which is what led me to understand that, as well as find a relationship with Enki once I understood the difference in the two. Yeah, honestly, Erica, the whole saga, because they tell us, and it's not a lie, they tell us that the whole issue in the scriptures is about sovereignty. But we're confused. We're told the lie that it's an issue of sovereignty between Yahweh and Satan. And that's not true, because Yahweh is Satan. The issue is is an issue of sovereignty between Enlil and Enki. Story time again. They are brothers with different mothers from Nibiru. You say, who made them? Who made any of the planets and the people on them? It's just in our ignorance, the way we've been sold religion for the longest. Do you realize that it was only since about 1970 or 80 that humanity was even willing to accept the idea that there was other planets with intelligent beings on them? How arrogant and ignorant do you have to be to think that we are the be all and end all of all creation throughout the entire universe? That sound ignorant to me. Any being, sentient or otherwise, sky daddy or otherwise, that got the power and the wherewithal to put a planet hung out in the middle of nothing, put it in orbit with satellite planets and stars and a sun and all the rest of that, and to bioform it and terraform it and all the rest of that, and however sentient humans got here, We're now an intelligent race of beings, and we can identify at least 9 planets in our solar system, but we really think that all of this was just put here just for us, and we are all there is in the entire universe. We need to get over ourselves if we really believe that. Because for real, if we the best that God got to offer, Jesus, he ain't much of a God, is he? Look, we can't even get along amongst ourselves here on earth. Why would we be so arrogant as to think that we're all there is and we're God's best work? No, no. I don't know. I'm not sure why story time ain't quite getting it, because for real, I talk about the Lost Book of Enki a lot on this channel. You don't even have to buy it. I read the book on the channel. All you got to do is go back and listen to it. There's several channels on YouTube that have done a reenactment of the book. I mean, you should buy it. In my opinion, everybody want to have a Bible in their house, or Torah or a Quran. I feel like you should have a copy of the Lost Book of Enki too, because you never know when the powers that were gonna get funky and take it offline. But yeah, just you gonna have to read the book for real. Cool, Falcon. I wouldn't mind it being a reminder of a crop circle, to be honest. You said all of this truth of the universe is amazing, but have you ever asked yourself, after you find this truth, what are you going to do with it? What will happen if you detach yourself from the collective agreement? That's what we finding out, because I damn sure want to detach myself from the collective agreement. The collective agreement has decided to follow a dragon off the edge of a cliff into the pits. And I, for one, do not want to follow that collective agreement anymore. The scriptures say that the whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one, and they are wicked. Look at the world we're living in. So me detaching myself from the collective agreement can't be no worse than following the collective agreement into sure destruction. They tell you at the end of the book that following that leader is following into sure destruction. So why would it be wrong to detach myself from that? The Lost Book of Enki didn't go missing from the Bible. It truthfully wasn't found until probably the mid 40s or 50s. That book was written long time ago, and Enki had it. He deliberately hid it away somewhere in a cave, in a box, in a whatever. And he said that he had hoped that one day a chosen one would find it and be able to translate it and set the record straight with humanity, because he saw what his brother was doing and the way things were headed, and he wanted the truth to be spoken somewhere on this planet before things got too far out of hand. It is not part of the biblical scriptures, but in my opinion, it is just as important, if not more so, than any scriptures that we've ever been given, because what we're told are scriptures are ancient texts, but the way they were put together, it was put together to deceive and manipulate humanity. Hot times, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't want to be disrespectful, but I think you're trying to jerk with us a little bit. So whatever. Maybe you was dreaming. I don't know what realm you was in. It sounded like you was in the realm, or you done smoked some really good shit. I don't know, but that's on you. And again, the Epic of Gilgamesh is cool, but the Babylonian and Assyrian tales start kind of diverting and getting off into part of the poetic license or creative license that allows a lot of these folks to dismiss a lot of that literature as myth. It's obviously gets a little not self-aggrandizing, but it starts aggrandizing some of the characters in it in a way that seems a little outlandish. That's one of the reasons I like the Lost Book of Enki, because it did not have that kind of embellishment in it. It just seems to really be an account of, like you said, one of the ones who dared to play God, who had an attack of conscience about it and decided to make some very profound admissions to set the record straight because things were getting out of hand. It seems like a more faithful account of what actually happened than an attempt to flatter a God that wanted to be flattered. Because a lot of that, with Gilgamesh, the Enuma Elish, the Popol Vuh, and those type texts, it starts to look like some poetic license was taken in order to flatter certain beings instead of just telling what happened. Oh, I don't doubt that, Erica. Like I say, when um I used to have to read the scriptures all the time. One of the earliest butt whippings that I remember getting was over Genesis chapter 3, verse 1, and I was two ish. I wasn't quite 3 years old yet. My mother was teaching me to read from the Bible, and I kept stumbling over Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. And I remember getting my booty toe up like several painful pops. I remember the green lazy boy recliner that we were sitting in during that lesson. I was quite triggered. Quite triggered. Let me see. Let me see. What if we're here to be the history, not seek knowledge of the history? But again, how you gonna beat a history if you've been misled by past history, whether you realize it or not? If we don't seek knowledge of the history to understand the truth from the lie, we will believe that all of the stuff around us is true and that they have our best interest at heart and we just supposed to go along with it. How will we ever be the history then? We will wind up being a self-fulfilling prophecy of the doom that they've prescribed for us. Sham, Shiamo, we have to get some kind of a more accurate baseline in order to make an educated decision as to how we choose to move forward. If all we had to go by was the last 150, 200 years or so, it wouldn't even be no point in living. If they was just telling us the truth, look at the last 200 years on this planet, there would be no point whatsoever in even attempting to move forward, because we would know that within another 100 years or so, we're going to burn this planet out and we'll be done. If that's all we had to look forward to, it would be pointless. Rosie, yeah, I've had some spiritual encounters. I ain't gonna say they are unexplained. They may not be understood by other people, but I mean, a spiritual encounter that is kind of its own explanation. It's a spiritual encounter. You don't have to agree with me 100% swimmingly. Some will, some won't. All I can do is give it like I've seen it or understand it. Even my own opinions change slightly from based on the information that I get, and I don't gatekeep when it does come through. When I first started this channel, I did not believe that Yeshua was the second incarnation of Thoth, but I do now. As we go and learn and grow and learn, things change. And again, if you never agree with me, you ain't even if you. There's some folks that come in here don't agree with me 10%, and they'll keep on moving. So if you get some good benefit from it, cool. If not, then that's find somewhere that does. And I'm not trying to be flippant. I understand. I'm here to teach. Some people will be able to hear it, and some will benefit from it. Some will hear it and reject it. And either way, I can't take it personally because that's not my business. People will hear it when they're ready to hear it, or they may not ever hear it. Okay, and that's fair story time. But yeah, yeah, definitely get the book. Read List Astral Legends. It has a very good copy of, like I said, a very good rendition of the movie. Um, Anunnaki Ancient Legend, I think it is, or yeah, I think it's Anunnaki Ancient Legend. Has like a summarized version. It's a lot shorter, but even still, both of them very good. Um, the one on Astral Legends is more in line with the reading of the book. It's about a 6 hour version. And I think the one on Anunnaki Ancient Legend, they've condensed it down to about an hour and a half. But yeah. You're not going to hear, if you study theology story time, you're not going to get most of this because theology is basically just ways to justify and uphold this. They're not interested in teaching you the truth at all. You might get some of it if you go into a seminary, but if you study theology on the university level, you will never hear this because they're not interested in teaching you the truth. They're interested in justifying and explaining and interpreting this to make it fit their narrative. That's all. Yeah, Bro 100, I don't even think it was about, well, I he was demonized anyway for telling Eve the truth, but he remained relevant in human consciousness by continuing to teach those that could hear it and would hear it. When we look at the Enkiite philosophies and stuff, they, like I said, after they kind of got flung far and wide, Elohim went in various parts of the world, and they all stayed relevant through many different pantheons. Like I said, they came here. The very first, the oldest of the texts were directly Anunnaki texts, and then Sumer was the first civilization. So we had the Sumerian text, and then the Babylonian text, and the Akkadian text, and then we got into. So just as it progressed, they all have a presence in all of those pantheons. He didn't just slink away and just completely let Yahweh have the show. It literally was only up, they all were kind of around and doing their thing. It was when Yahweh came along and unalived the prophet that was sent by Enki, Yeshua, and they made this vehicle to push Yahwism out into the world in the name of Christianity, because that's all Christianity is another iteration of Yahwism. It's not Judaism, because Judaism was, at the time, was confined to a very small area. And then when Christianity came along, they pulled in a lot of different belief systems from everywhere to make it more palatable to everybody. And the Roman Empire was in power at that time, and so they set out on these holy wars or whatever. How a war gonna be holy? But when you worship a bloodthirsty warlord, you can justify going around and killing people to install a religion. And that's what they did. They unalived 80 million people around the planet to install Christianity. And Christianity is just the next step. It is the continuation of Yahwism spilled out into the rest of the world. Yeah, story time. The Immaculate Conception is an absolute misdirection. It's a lie because they don't want to tell you the truth. Yeshua was not an immaculate conception, it was an artificial insemination by Lord Enki upon Mary. Same way, because Gabriel came to Zechariah and told Zechariah and Elizabeth that they were going to have John in a similar manner, and they did. And when Elizabeth was 6 months pregnant, Gabriel came back to Mary and told her that she was getting ready to have this child too. And they were both told, he was told that John was going to pave the way for Yeshua, and Yeshua was going to come here to be a teacher to basically redirect the thinking of the Jewish people. And he did, or he tried to, and they didn't want to hear it, and they unalived him for it. Hot times, I think you got some issues going on, but okay. I'm not even going to address none of that with you. You think you're Michael? That's a whole other issue, boo. I'm not even qualified to deal with that. You might want to go somewhere and get some help. If you honestly think you're an archangel, why are you in here under the name Hot Times and up in my chat? You own one, and go get some help. Cool, Erica. I'll be glad to help. Surely will. Trust in God. There is the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Enuma Elish, Atrahasis. All of those are talking about the same basic event of the flood. The scriptures, the Bible version gives you the most truncated version of all of them. That's why I say it's not that this is necessarily a lie. They just give you the very much abbreviated elementary school version, basically dumbed down to talk to people to sell them religion like they are simple-minded children. And humanity went for it. Yeah, they've shown that the flood is real. It's just most of the fallen angels, Rosie, is that again, they weren't fallen and they weren't angels. They deliberately, intentionally descended, and they were the Anunnaki workers that had been here mining gold. After they got so far into operation, they set up a way station on Mars so that they would mine the gold and refine it here and then basically stockpile it on Mars so that the spaceships didn't have to fly all the way into Earth's atmosphere to land. They would start picking up the gold on Mars. So there were 200 workers from Nibiru that were stationed on Mars. And when Marduk married Sarpanit, it enraged them that he was able to take a human, but they had been here for thousands of years with no women, no nookie, no nothing. And they got mad and they mutinied and they crashed the wedding reception of Marduk and Sarpanit, and they took human brides for themselves. So what are they doing now? Nothing. They either were in punishment on Nibiru or wherever they went, or most of them went back to Nibiru. The only ones that stuck around are the initial Elohim that stayed here for so long that their bodies can no longer adapt to going back to Nibiru. They can't physically go back, so they went into stasis, into the Agwanti state here. But most of the workers and people that had come from Nibiru went back. Oh, really? You said this feed is glitching. You're hearing it for the second time. You might need to go out of the feed and come back in if it's in just a few minutes' time. But if you think you heard it on another day, that for sure is deja vu. I discuss a lot of the same topics, but I promise you I have not restarted this feed. So if you're hearing it for the second time, it's probably deja vu. Deja Pierce, Enlil is not Amun Ra. Amun Ra is his nephew, Marduk. In another pantheon, Amun got merged with Ra. Some of the deities and pantheons wound up merging two personalities, but Amun Ra basically tracks back to Marduk, who is Enlil's nephew. But saying Amen is a binding spell to bind all prayers back to Marduk. That's why you should stop doing that. People don't understand what they're doing. That's why I say they don't even know how much black magic and witchcraft is involved in Christianity. You're welcome, Maurice. You're right. I definitely don't have to believe that because, again, I call on Archangel Michael all the time, and he ain't told me he was going to be coming up in my feed, especially making questions or making statements that sound very much not like an intelligent archangel, but like somebody that's on one. But yeah, okay. Basil, I'm good. I'm good. How are you, dear? I'm good. Hey, Sandra Horn. Any other questions or conversation? Because it's about 10:30 now. If we don't have anything further, I'll probably go on and jet for the evening. I will be back on tomorrow and Sunday though, but I do want to finish this reading that I was doing for the collective. Are we complete here? Pretty much. All right, then I'm gonna scoot on out. It's gotten quiet and the questions are kind of slowed down. The activity slowed. So I will say again, happy, happy, happy um, Lionsgate to you. There's definitely still a few more days of that energy, so definitely enjoy it. So, well, take it easy if the energies are hitting you kind of hard, but it is a great manifestation portal. I think we are in the middle of a rebirth cycle as well. You're welcome, Niana. It's my pleasure. I'm going to try to go and get into some of Sitchin's work so I can do an upload for that. Be on the lookout for that. Hopefully, sometime in the morning. It's getting kind of late tonight. Same thing with the Lionsgate. I've got the cards pulled for the rest of the. Let me see swimmingly. I'll go back up and look. I got the cards pulled for the rest of the reading, but I may just wait till tomorrow to upload it so folks can see it in a decent time since it's almost 11. Hold on. Swimmingly, can you retype it? Because oh, you're saying you don't agree with me 100%, but you appreciate my wisdom. That was the last comment that I saw of yours, swimmingly. And I definitely appreciate you appreciating it. And like I said, you ain't got to agree with everything. I'm just here to just, all I can tell you is what I've come to know and understand from what I've read. Hey, Roger Plays, I hadn't even seen you here. I appreciate you. Carolyn Baker, I hadn't seen you either. Welcome. Baziel, I don't particularly read for particular signs. I know some readers do. I'm not as well versed in astrology as I'd like to be comfortable reading for particular signs. Plus, my collective messages are mainly for the chosen, the 144,000 light workers, star seeds, that kind of thing. I didn't want to limit who hears the message by saying it's specifically for a sign. Not that many people watch my uploaded content and my readings. If I'm only getting like 30, 40, 50 views on a reading, I would work myself to death trying to do individual readings for the particular signs just for two or three people to watch one of them. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Swimmingly, I do believe that people are being sent from other star systems, and whether it's considered higher than Enki or not, again, we're all kind of in this together. Because here's the thing: when they said Anunnaki, that encompasses a lot of different people from a lot of different star systems. On Nibiru, they were a very inclusive, diverse culture on that planet, so it could be people from all kinds of star systems. And I do believe that they're coming back here now to help with our ascension, this reset, our evolution, all of that. When they're talking about us having contact and all of that that's coming, the government is trying to manipulate that and keep us from noticing it and try to lie and talk about the weather balloons and all the rest of that. But the time for those lies are over. There are definitely contingencies of beings from other star systems that will be working with us and coming to us to assist during this time period. Yeah, because we're going into the age of Aquarius. This planet is evolving, humanity is evolving, our consciousness is evolving. It's a lot of stuff happening here, and we will have assistance. Yeah. I understand swimmingly, and again, for a well, I ain't gonna say a long time, because truthfully, we have to understand it's just starting to ramp up to what it is now. A lot of folks have no idea what it is to even be the chosen. A lot of folks are just getting to the place where they're even comfortable with the notion of being called chosen, because for a long time we were made to feel that even saying we're the chosen ones was too arrogant and too weird and too woo woo and too all the rest of that stuff. Who do you think you are? And again, it's about unplugging from the worship gene. It's part of the expansion. It's not a braggadocious thing or anything. You also, in the early stages of awakening, we've had several waves of star seeds awakening, but earlier on, a lot of them were still so caught up in religiosity that a lot of the so-called woke folks sounded like another iteration of religion. Look at a lot of the Black Power, dashiki, hand to the fist, and all that. Anybody still promoting racism isn't spiritual. So they read Malachi York, and they read Edgar Casey, and they read Rudolph Steiner, and then they still turn around and put a funky little racist spin to half the stuff that they were saying. So it's about us, our consciousness kind of clearing and expanding. We're growing. It's happening though. It's not going to happen overnight, but it is happening. Swimmingly, that's exactly what I'm talking about. They claiming they're chosen, but truthfully they were people with just enough knowledge to be dangerous to themselves and other people, because how could they truly be awakened and ascending and they're still promoting violence and racism and all those sorts of things? They really got to clear their energy. It's like when Holy Spirit first started moving on this planet, and I saw that it was happening. It first expressed itself as a bunch of little pop off religions that were pop offs from Christianity. They didn't know any better, but Holy Spirit can only move through the lens of the people that it's moving through. Look at what happened with Mormonism. He said that black folks was supposed to be a slave race, and that faithful service to God would result in these men, on their death, they would ascend to heaven and get a whole planet full of virgins to themselves. They ain't got nothing, no reward for the women, except for a whole planet full of women get to serve one man. Obviously, there's something very wrong and very unspiritual in that theory. But that man swore up and down he was a prophet, and millions of people to this day follow him as a prophet. So all we can do is, the more light we get, the more knowledge we get, each one that gets one, try to teach somebody else, and it happens a little bit at a time. No, ain't nobody giving you no money. Absolutely, Steiner was amazing, and again, it's Zakeli, Steiner, uh, Dr. McBain, all of those cats. I'm so grateful. But even at my age, I'm, like I said, I'm older than the average bear. But when the internet became a thing, that was a gateway for a lot of this information. I'm from a very small town in South Florida. I mean, in Florida, not in South Florida, but from Florida, in a super tiny town. The town itself was like a population of 15,000. Had it not been for the internet, and for me getting further out of that town to even be curious about things like this, I would never have had access to any of this information. Not if I was waiting for it to show up in my public library. Never. So it's taken time for these things to get out. And if you actually could see it that way swimmingly, we're not as far behind as you might think. A lot of the information has been out there, but it has not been widely available to very many people for a super long time. Yeah, it kind of sort of started making its way to the internet in like 90s. But again, you still got to get people that's waking up enough, coming out of the programming enough, getting over their religiosity enough to even start asking these questions so that spirit can start directing them. But that's what I'm here for. That's literally why I'm here. It took me a while to be able to see it and understand it and connect the dots. And once I did, I still had to sit with it for a minute to figure out how much could I say, will I say it, all the rest of that. And then Yeshua put it on my heart to speak and to teach. My thoughts on how marriage should be conducted, story time. A lot depends on the government or the municipality under which you plan on getting married, because we still have to function in this world. If you can do a spiritual ceremony where you're energetically bound to each other, but not necessarily allowing your marriage and the subsequent children to become a ward of the state, there are some folks that will really, really want to do that. There are some people, for whatever reason, insurance reasons, inheritances, or whatever, that want their marriage to be legally recorded and want their children to be um, a ward of the state. It depends on the individual and how they feel about those things as well. I honestly had reached a point where for a time, I told my boyfriend that I really didn't care about having the piece of paper anymore. I was going to do a hand fasting and be done with it. But he, truthfully, and he's considerably younger than I am, but he's more traditional. And in the culture that he was raised in and the culture that we intend to live amongst, he wanted the formal, legal marriage, not just a spiritual union, but a recorded marriage. So a lot depends on the person and the individual. Relations between the sexes generally, honestly, at the risk of making some folks angry, my opinion, I don't have any issue whatsoever with same sex relationships. Please understand that. And oddly enough, it's like I have two daughters and twin sons. Both of my daughters are lesbians. Go figure. I don't know. But I also saw part of our soul contract. They knew that even though I'm older, I'm of that generation that judged a lot. I think they chose me as parents because they knew that I wouldn't judge. And I didn't. It's not an issue whatsoever. And I love my daughter-in-law. Who cares? It's not my business. However, amongst the chosen that are here being drawn to union with their twin or divine counterpart, I feel like it is very important for them to maintain hetero relationships. And again, all of them won't, but I think the vast majority of them should. And the reason for that, not saying that it's morally wrong to have a same sex relationship, but the way the human body is made, when you're talking about generating energy, the way our centers are made, the human body is designed to work together in tandem, much like a battery or completing a circuit. And for the purpose of the level of manifestation or alchemical unions that are being called into play, that's literally a tab A fits in the slot B conversation that cannot be attained on the same level to the same extent in a same sex union. It takes that female masculine or female feminine, male masculine energy union to create something that is exponentially greater than the sum of its parts. Do I advocate for monogamy? Yes, I do. I really, really do. And the reason for it, again, it's not a judgment. For those who choose otherwise, do you. However, it's hard enough to find and maintain a pure level of energy with two partners. and you start mixing energies, we are transmitting and receiving mechanisms. So if you're out there and there are 4, 5, 6, however many people, you're dealing with that many separate energies for the level of manifestation that I'm talking about within a sacred union for the purpose of manifestation. The more energies you bring into your bed, the more dangerous it's going to be. The harder it is to maintain that level of purity that's required for that level of alchemy. No, I honestly, because you don't know who those people are sleeping with and who the people that were sleeping with those people were sleeping with, and you're bringing all of that stuff in there. Yeah, I don't find it daft. I find it, you have to realize there are people, story time, in my opinion, of course, we can't prove it, but there are people that come through this realm with residuals from previous lifetimes that they cannot fully remember or understand how to process. So that can have them with residual preferences and predilections that they may not understand or how to process. So I don't think it's necessarily wrong, um, but I don't, yeah, I do personally, for especially with what I'm understanding about the call for the return to the divine feminine, the balancing of the divine masculine, and a return to sacred sexuality. I advocate for monogamy for that reason. It's hard to manage all them random energies. And if you can sleep with somebody 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and their energy is still stuck in your energy. So when you start dealing with polygamy, you're not just sleeping with Bob and Sally and Sue, but you're also dealing with the people that Bob and Sally and Sue slept with. So now instead of dealing with three people's energies, you could be potentially dealing with 8, 9, 12, 15 other energies, messing up your energy centers. It's not worth it to me. And truthfully, at the end of the day, if people would stop looking at sex as the recreational, meaningless transaction that we've been watered down to believe it is, and understood it to be the sacred gateway that it really is, within a sacred union, sex is so fulfilling. There really is no room or need for other beings in that. Polygamy is a watered down, washed down excuse for relationships. It's not real connection. It's hard enough getting to know one person, and now you got 2 and 4 and 5. No, no. That's people that aren't willing to do the work to create a true sacred partnership with another one individual. So instead they want to short circuit it and turn it into this orgiastic free for all. That's more Yahweh crap. That Bacchanal Bacchus, that's Yahweh all day. He's the one. A lot of this depraved sexuality we see on the planet now it stems from Yahwism. It really does. They've turned it into something animalistic instead of something beautiful and sacred. Yeah, I absolutely advocate for monogamy. Oh wow, yeah. Honestly, just talk to Yeshua or Michael or whomever it is, Archangel Michael, not Michael here in the comments, but whatever. And again, who am I to say? I just, the way he's coming across and the way he made that statement, I have a hard time buying it because, yeah, I don't think Archangel Michael has to show up in my little stream like that. But anyway, but you probably, the way we've been taught to pray, you're not supposed to anyway. Story time. Talk to Yeshua like you would talk to an uncle or a friend or a brother. At the end of the prayer, you can, if you, and I was taught to pray in the Christian format too, so I get it. But if you feel that way, in your prayers in Yeshua's name, not Jesus, in Yeshua's name, and then do not end that prayer in Amen say, so mote it be, so and so it is, or Ashe, something like that, but just don't end it in Amen. We're sold the idea of polygamy as a way of protecting women, but who do it protect them from? Story time. It really doesn't. It pits women against each other. It leaves all of them underserved emotionally. And if you don't believe me, look at Sister Wives. And one of them women finally did get out. But yeah, it really doesn't. Thank you, Selena. Polygamy is sold as an idea of a way of protecting women, but it really don't. It just allows greedy ass men to justify collecting women like trophies on a belt, and also allows them to justify only being a piece of a man spread amongst 4 or 5 women. I don't care who he is. There's no man alive that can adequately fulfill all of the. He might be able to fulfill the financial needs of a woman, but he cannot fulfill the financial and the spiritual and the emotional and the physical needs of 4 women. I don't give a damn how great he thinks he is. He ain't all that. That's a lie. So women will have to put up with that subpar piece of a man in the name of protection, when she could have went out there and got her a man that's willing to deal with her, period. Yeah, I get it. There's more women on the planet than men, but guess what? It ain't that hard to find a man that will deal with you. Hugo G, you got some damn nerve. And for your information, not that I have anything against Africa, because I will be going there, but there is no back to Africa for me to go to, because I am indigenous, autochthonous, real American, Choctaw and Blackfoot. And my other heritage is Irish and Scottish. So you go back wherever you came from, dear sir. That kind of hatred is not cool here. I have a right to be here. I have more right to be here in America than most white folks here, because I got it all the way around. Hey, Robin Williams Daniels, how are you? You said prayer is communion and you find it harder to do. But that's what I'm saying. We've been told that we got to bow and scrape and do all this genuflecting and formality with it. Just talk to them. That's all. That's part of turning off that worship gene. And I get that it's hard because we're taught ritual prayers and all of that stuff that make it so difficult and so formal. Just talk to them. You saying you're not sure it puts women against each other? It eliminates the competition. How does it eliminate the competition when you done brought the competition right up in your house? If this man got 2 wives or 3 wives or 4 wives, you didn't have no say so about who they got picked and how they got picked. But what you do have to do is divide or you know that he's dividing his time and attention with at least 1 to 3 other women. That's it. Ain't eliminating no competition. It's legalizing the competition and giving you zero say so in the matter. I tell you what, I used to think it wouldn't matter because but nah, ain't no way in the world. A man that think he got to have another, he'll have them without me. I'm not doing it. And again, my boyfriend is from Africa, and I was so stuck in my sense of my lack of self-worth, because I was stuck on the fact that I'm considerably older than him, and I couldn't have children anymore and things like that. So I had said, well, if he felt like, I didn't want to have it where I was holding him back from anything. So I said, if you really, really wanted to, I wouldn't mind if you took another wife and blah, 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 all the rest of that. And he was the one, bless his heart, to set me straight quick, fast, and in a hurry. He was like, no, absolutely not. He said, I would not dare bring another energy into our relationship. We have found something beautiful. We're telepathically linked. We're spiritually in step with each other. We got hopes and dreams and all those things that we want to do. And there is no way that I would risk messing up the energy that we have by bringing another person into that. Now, he said that. And he was the only one that stood to gain by I'm giving him a green light to go have another woman if he wanted to. And he said, hell to the no. No. You say in the polygamous model, the good ones are never taken. Because the good ones ain't going to be in a polygamous model. That's why. It takes a hell of an ego for a man to decide that one woman ain't enough. What does he want? A bunch of servants, a bunch of slaves? Or do he really think that he got so much going on in the bedroom area that it's really going to take 2 or 3 women to satisfy him? That is completely a play on a man's damaged ego. And real men whose real egos are in a healthy place do not have to prove a point that way. Again, that's because that's what they're taught to believe they're supposed to do. But I'm talking about a healthy relationship between a man and a woman, not a woman getting a chance to have a healthy relationship to help her with the housework and to have genuine closeness with each other. I don't need genuine closeness with a bunch of women if I'm supposed to be marrying a man. Hey, Brittany, that's that part. Swimmingly, for real. I mean, I get it. In some cultures, women are taught to think that that's a good thing, and they will accept it. Like I say, for a while, my mind was blurred, and I was looking at the practicality of having a woman around as another helper and all of that. He can get a damn maid. He don't need another one or another wife for that. But in some cultures, women are sold that idea and they accept that it's a good thing. But that's a ego. That's a man playing out his funky little ego to think that he's so much man that he need more than one woman. Bull and crap. Well, honey, I'm so sorry for your loss for your pet, but I assure you he's not in hell. And he's probably not in heaven either. He's in this realm and he might come back to you. I've actually channeled a dog before. We lost our dog a few years back, and about 3 years after we had to put her down, I was sitting out in meditation one day and actually channeled her. Big Cheese, you said what? Hold on. The questions keep coming and I don't see everything. I'm not trying to ignore you, but any chance can you ask a question? You want to see, are you crazy? Are you the crazy one in the world? The world is a bit of a shambles. You're not crazy. We're in the midst of an ascension cycle. We've been switching timelines. The whole revelation thing is getting ready to pop off. There's a lot of stuff going on, Big Cheese, but you're not necessarily crazy. It's just an interesting time we're living in, that's all. But Nick said your pet is still in this dimension, but not in the physical body anymore. if that answers your question. And I'm sorry I missed your question before, Big Cheese, but like I said, I don't think you're crazy at all. The world is in a shambles, but it is going to get better. That's why we're here, to kind of get this information so that we can have more perspective and not feel lost or feel like the world is in a shambles. It's not a problem. It's really not. Story time again. Your cultural background is allowing you to accept those things, but you're saying that men and women don't age in the same way. A woman might be over in the bedroom, but a man may not. By the time a woman is quote unquote over in the bedroom, a man been over in the bedroom 15 years before that. Women don't even hit their sexual prime until about 40, 42, somewhere in there, 45 years old. Men are on the sexual decline around age 25 to 30. So the idea of he's got to have another woman because she can't cut it in the bedroom no more, that's a lie. The vagina doesn't age. An 80-year-old woman can still have intercourse as long as she's adequately and mentally stimulated. That's men that are too lazy to actually learn a woman's body and learn how to please them, that believe that. Exactly, Unique. I'm 57 years old, and my boyfriend, my fiance, is 20 years younger than me. It's not a problem. That's a lie that they've told themselves. I'm sorry, my dear Ndifon. I'm sorry that your husband abandoned you, but if you know that your husband has abandoned you, then it's time for you to figure out how you're going to get up on your feet by yourself and get out of that victim mentality. And I'm not saying it's not hard, and I'm not saying you don't really have something going on. But the longer you believe yourself to be a victim, the longer you'll be a victim. If he ain't coming back, he ain't coming back. And if he actually abandons you, don't let that fool come back. Do what you need to do to get yourself clear. Either find you another man or get to your feet on your own. But don't you dare sit around and wallow about a sorry ass piece of man, because it take a sorry ass man to walk off from his own children and leave you in a bad way. If he did that, it's his loss. Don't you dare don't you dare give up. You do what you got to do, boo. It's a whole lot of women, unfortunately, that chose poorly and wind up with sorry behind pieces of men that do stuff like that. It's a lot. That is a very common paradigm in this reality that we're living in, unfortunately. Mm, I'm so sorry to hear that, Nixit. Yeah. Hopefully, she'll hear from both of them soon, though. And Brittany, you're absolutely correct. In 2017, when I first started going through this little transformation thing or whatever, one of the most profound thoughts that came to me, I was sitting outside work, having a cigarette on a park bench, so to speak, and at my break time, and the thought came to me that very often what people see as madness is truthfully just moments of extreme clarity that hit a person so hard that they don't have the words to describe it, and they try to describe it anyway, and people see them as crazy, but they're not crazy. They just waking up. Big Cheese, you can ask or say whatever you like. I'm trying to scroll down and get to it, but yeah. Swimmingly, we're gonna try to be nice to the story time. She trying. She trying. We're gonna bring her up to speed. But again, she's saying from the culture that she was in, she was programmed to believe and accept these things. Just like you think about Mormon women, bless their hearts, they honestly believe that that's what they're supposed to do because that's what them fools told them they were supposed to do. So they accept it. They've been told that since they was little girls. They look forward to it. They think it's a blessing to be in a house with umpteen other women and all the rest. Because they were raised in that very restrictive culture. It's a culture thing. Unique. I hear that. I know that's right. Like you said, ain't no need for, yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Ain't nothing wrong with, because the age gap thing, as long as that person, now I wouldn't do an age gap like that if he was under, say, 28, 30 years old, because he does need to get old enough to be mature enough to make those decisions so that an age gap can truly just be a number. But at the end of the day, in the longer scheme of things, older women and younger men belong together for the very reason she was talking about. Younger men, I mean, men will burn out quicker sexually than women will. Innocent? You say you just found out you was pregnant. Oh goodness. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Ndifon. Yeah. Hold your head up, mama, because trust me, it ain't easy. But been there, done that, got a t-shirt. I got 4 children. Well, they grown now, and I made it. So it wasn't easy. And poverty is a real thing. But if you made a poor choice and you got a sorry ass man that won't do what he supposed to as a father, the hell with him. You still don't have to settle. But don't you ever let yourself get in that victim mentality because it'll destroy you if you do. How do I feel about trans people? Nix it. And I feel like they're mentally confused. That's mental illness. That is not a real thing. Because if you want to be gay, that's fine. You don't have to do gay with extra steps. You don't have to do gay with damaging surgeries and stuff. If those surgeries were truthfully helpful, I wouldn't mind. But they don't tell people the whole story. There are too many cases out there now of trans men and women that are having lifelong complications, dragging bags full of pills around behind them for the rest of their lives so that they can live this sham of a lie of an existence to alter their bodies into something that they're not. Ain't no such thing as you stuck in the wrong body. If you gay, you gay. You don't need nobody cutting on you for you to go be gay. You don't need nobody cutting on you to cross dress if that's what you choose to do. But that sort of thing, like I said, it's and it really, really got out of hand. We've had a serious paradigm shift. There was a timeline jump, and the powers that were are taking advantage of that. That's another distracting thing that was put into the programming, but it's rampant mental illness. And truthfully, I think it's designed to basically keep a lot of people from ascending. You start chopping off body parts and fucking, oh, excuse me, messing with your energy, and you confused and you don't know what you are, and you're not even focused on nothing spiritual. How can you be when you stuck in that kind of delusion? And then you stuck full of all of these artificial pills and potions and stuff to keep your hormone levels jacked up, and taking all of them damn hormones. They're going to find out years from now that that's a dangerous thing to do. That's like putting putting diesel fuel in a gasoline engine. You ain't gonna get very far like that. You ain't never lied, Unique. Most of the men who think that way aren't. They ain't even qualified for one woman, not one good woman. Instead, and they go around and convince these women to collect all of this stuff. Yeah. Story time. Well, see, there you go. Islamic. You said it right there. Islamic. Because really, the only ones that really, really get ramped off in a lot of that are Muslims and Mormons. And either way, The psychology behind the religion ain't even sound. It's mental illness. And the way they treat their women, ain't one woman that shouldn't even want to be with one of them dudes. The way women are justified being treated within Mormonism and within Islam, any wise thinking woman should run for the hills from either of those religions, much less agree to be ensconced in a house with a man and a bunch of other women all trapped up in that mess. Surely what comes down to the individuals? No. As far as that trans stuff, no, it don't come down to the individual. They are mentally ill. Sane people are not going to go and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to hack their bodies up and have to take fake medications for the rest of their lives or run the risk of death, because truthfully, with those men, when they go and chop their penis off, they will have to spend the rest of their lives taking medications and doing what they call vaginal dilation, because that's an open wound that they will have to continue to manually dilate the rest of their lives. That takes somebody that is truly suffering from mental illness to decide to do that. I'm sorry, I said that with my whole chest. Because all he had to do, if he wants a man, there's plenty of gay men out there that will take him exactly as he is. He don't need to mutilate his body by chopping off his penis and taking synthetic medications for the rest of his life and going and making them doctors. It's the doctors and the insurance companies is making a killing off of his mental health situation. For sure, being a furry is all of that other nonsense. That's ridiculous. A human being that's running around play acting like an animal and expecting other people to engage in their delusion. That's the part that lets me know it's mental illness, because they all out there advocating for the fact that you can be, if you want to be a furry, that's fine, but why do I have to acknowledge your nonsense? I could say I'm the Queen of England. That don't mean you gotta bow to me, right? Because you know better. I can think I'm the Queen of England all I want, but they won't even let my black ass in Buckingham Palace, and rightly so. So the fact that I believe that, does that mean it's a real thing? No, it's mental illness. And these people that have put this stuff out here in the media now to try to make us accept that stuff, they even sicker than the people that's got that going on. William Torres, there are people that are out here that are so off in the head when they started with this I identify as mess. Some identify as female, some identify as males, some identify as aliens, some identify as furries. They literally are running around acting like they are animals and expect sane human beings to accommodate and acknowledge that crap like it's normal. It's a hot mess. I wish I could identify as wealthy fragging legs. I could go in. Patricia Campbell, I'm saying I can go in the palace and visit, but I get you, me, or nobody else ain't gonna run up in there talking about they the Queen of England and want to be directed to the throne room and just sit down and take an audience. That's not gonna happen. They will remove me, and if I refuse to be removed, they would pew pew me. That's not gonna happen. Like, you ain't gonna just waltz up in the White House and just run up in the Oval Office and sit in the chair like you supposed to be there. That's what I meant by they're not gonna let me in the palace. Of course, if I wanted to go as a visitor, I can go. I was just, yeah. Story time, yeah, I believe that too. It does have to do with, and it ain't even just the women. Hold on. Yeah, but guess what? A lot of that stuff, yeah, is actually it's gonna start dying down, because it ain't just Storytime said it was a bunch of PDF files at the turn of the century, but it's being advocated by, truthfully, by the Democratic left. That's where all of that stuff came from. Oh, wow, William, that's cool. You got a chance to shake Diana's hand? I don't really think very much of the royal family, period. I never followed all of that stuff, but I did. I love Diana, and I cried when she passed. Yeah. Oh, wow. And people say a lot about Queen Elizabeth, but she was something else. Again, I don't know that we're not even going into that whole reptilian and all of that other stuff. She may be, may not be. I honestly don't have a real opinion about that, but she was quite a strong lady for her time. I have to say that. Oh man, this is kind of nice though. I'm amazed that usually the freaks be done came out by now. A lycanthrope, was that a werewolf? I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to look that up. Ooh. Oh, okay, Nixit. Maybe. I mean, honestly, I don't think that the werewolf for real, maybe they are chilling because of 8-8. That would be good. Oh, that would be very wonderful. But I honestly don't think the whole werewolf reptilian thing is what people think it is entirely. I think that a lot of those stories are designed to hide a different truth, because vampirism, again, there was some that happened. I mean, Dracula kind of was a real thing, but I don't think it was driven according to what they tried to say caused it, or exactly the way it is. There's a lot, the powers that were, along with some other folks that are running things, do a lot of those kinds of things. I don't necessarily think it's the obvious ones that they're trying to point to would be a distraction to keep us away from looking at the real stuff. Like I said, keep your eye on the bouncing ball so you don't see what's going on over there. Brittany, it has been a hot mess. Like I say, I've been trying so hard. I thought this morning I'm gonna get down here and I'm gonna hurry up and knock out the rest of these readings, and then I'm gonna do this recording and I'm gonna do that recording and I'm gonna blah blah blah, blah all of that stuff. And same, got caught in the time glitch again. I'm like, damn it, it's 1 o'clock and I still just now. And I got a little bit done, but I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go on down here and enjoy this live stream, because that's the main thing. Yeah, the oppressors and pushing time of oppressors and marginalized people, though they are the oppressors that they claiming to fight. And most of the folks that they talking about are so oppressed, ain't even complaining about it. Like the Democratic left, they swear up and down black folks in America is so oppressed. Poor folks in America is oppressed. It ain't a black white thing no more. It's a lack of green thing in America. Poor white folks get just treated just as nasty as poor black folks. Now, they keep that lie alive with the idea of black on black crime. That's the biggest misnomer ever, because the only reason it's black on black crime is because they're living in a black neighborhood. They don't never talk about white on white crime, and there's plenty of that happening in America too. It's not nearly as much black on black crime as people think it is. It's not nearly as much police brutality as people think it is. I'm not saying it ain't some. I'm not saying that at all. But they very carefully curate the stories that they put out there in the news to create a narrative, to keep certain energies alive for us, because there are invisible non-corporeal entities that feed off of that negative energy. Plus, the more they can keep us at each other's throats, we can't compare notes and tell the truth and awaken and ascend. There's a lot of things that are done in this time space to keep us from awaking and ascending. When they put the fluoride in the water, when they lace sugar into everything, even the legalization of weed, because the way it's been done, they keep people dumbed down and asleep and high all the time. There's no reason people should be smoking the amount of weed that they're encouraged to smoke now, but they do it. All of the chemicals and it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, Nick said Vlad the Impaler was Dracula. Yep, they Lush and adrenochrome is huge for them, Brittany. That's one of the William Torres. That's one of the reasons why you said what you become, you think, or what you become what you think. Well, the scripture, like I said, as a man thinketh, so is he. Same difference. Um, and that's one of the reasons I unplugged from mainstream television in 1999. I began to see the programming. Now, the Matrix series, if you've never seen that movie trilogy, by all means, you should watch it. It's super important. It definitely was an eye opener for me. But when you step away from the programming for a while and then come back to it and watch it, it's way easier to see. In 1999, I noticed when they started with the reality TV genre, and they went to all the networks started pushing a paranormal agenda. They had Buffy and this and that. Everybody was chasing vampires and demons and all of that good stuff. Every network. Then they started pushing a little bit of a homosexual agenda. Every network had to have a lesbian couple kissing first. Then they went to a male couple. Then they had to show female frontal nudity. And then, it just, they were like basically desensitizing the masses like they did Pavlov's dog to tolerate more and more and more of what they would tolerate. But when they started with the reality TV show stuff, especially with Fear Factor, that's when I really signed off of TV. Excuse me. I remember the episode that I stopped. I made my children stop watching it too. And for a long time, we did video tapes and movies and stuff because I was like, no, we're not doing this. It was a Fear Factor where they were, one of the things they did in the earlier part of the show, they had some kind of a relay race where they had to carry dead rats in their mouth. And then the second part of the show was where they had to turn around and milk a goat with their mouth and then spit the milk into a container. And whoever filled the container to a certain line first would win the competition. And at that point, I realized these MFers got people watching open bestiality on American television. I was done. I couldn't do it no more. Okay, but Brit, story time. Now you ain't gonna like it when I say this. You've been talking about how you studied theology, you went to here, you did with the Muslims and the this and the that, and truthfully, from the line of your questioning, you got the least amount of spiritual knowledge of anybody in this live stream. So you fed your mind a bunch of expensive nonsense, and you wound up having very little knowledge. So you just proved the brother's point. You become what you put your attention to. You become. You focused on a lot of misinformation that was not helpful, and as a result you became very spiritually uninformed and unaware of a lot of stuff. You got a lot of book knowledge, but the questions you asking, you have very little idea of what's actually happening spiritually on this planet. I'm so sorry, but I gotta say it. Because the flood actually happened. Geologists can prove that it happened. It ain't no. It's not a story. People get that idea of the myth because we're told that myths aren't true, so they sell us that stuff. And I'm saying if she sticks around, and again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but she's saying when he said what you think you become, and she's saying that she don't believe that because she did this, that, and this, and that, and I'm like, you've been talking about all of that stuff, but it's obvious from the questions that you don't get it. That's why, and ultimately, that became its own fulfilling prophecy. You fed your mind a bunch of garbage, and now you don't know what's going on. You know, she didn't mean to, and I'm not trying to insult her. People do that a lot. They spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on all these fancy pantsy educations, but they're plugged into a system that will never tell them the truth because it ain't had no intention of telling them the truth. Nick said, you cannot be serious. You can't be serious with that question. You real First of all, there's no such thing as a burning hell. Hell in the Bible was not for humans, it's for Satan, the devil, and his cronies. So you ain't got to worry about your friend going to hell for anything. But why would you think that an autistic child will go to hell simply for being autistic? That's one of God's creations. If God made a person autistic, why would he turn around and put them in hell for being autistic? That's craziness. No, there's no longer life on Mars story time. The face you see on Mars is Alalu. It was a shrine that was put there. The Watchers were on Mars when they were still mining gold, but once they finished all of that, those people went back to Nibiru. The only ones that indicate that they're still here are Enki and Ninma and all of them, the 32 and the Dweller, according to the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Okay, but autistic and Machiavellian ain't the same thing. You are Machiavellian by choice. You're autistic because that's how you came here. You're a star seed if you're autistic. Machiavellian is some nonsense you chose to align your. Well, I ain't gonna say nonsense, but it's a prayer. It's a program you chose to align yourself with after you got here. You were autistic from before you took your first breath. You're not going to be punished on this planet for being who you are in your beautiful self. That part. Nick said, yeah, you might want to not listen to your very religious grandmother. Love her and respect her as Nana, but don't take your spiritual counsel from her because she was misled too. People think that people, because they old, they wise. Most of the religious stories we got from somebody old that told us that from somebody old who told us that from somebody old, but that don't mean none of them got the truth. Very like they didn't get the truth. They got sold a religious lie. All of the Abrahamic religions are a lie. Sometimes deja vu is a glitch in the matrix. And what's the other one? Was it kama vu or something? I forgot. But yeah. Um, Honestly, Mirza, yeah, people do have to forgive each other. And all they can do is be around like-minded people. You don't have no on the internet. You're never going to get rid of all of the sickness, so you can stop that, but you can stop tolerating it. That's one of the reasons why in this stream, if we're having real questions and real discourse, then we can have it. But when people start with the foolishness, they get removed rather quickly in this stream because we don't have to allow that poison in our house. That accept everybody, love that you can love everybody, but you're not supposed to accept anything and everybody. Halfway through what reading? Something is glitching back weird because yeah, I was halfway through the reading when I first came on here, but I've been on here for over 3 hours now, so it ain't got nothing to do with me. I was talking about a reading that I had started earlier today, and right at 8 o'clock when it glitched and I realized it was 8 o'clock, I shut. I let. I was there. The cards are actually still sitting here on the table. I've pulled the cards. I just haven't finished doing the reading, but I'll record it in the morning because we're still in the 8-8 energy. So I don't speak Turkish. Sky Turk. Sorry. Story time. Your questions aren't annoyance. They're not. They don't mix it. They're confused, honey. Again, and when I go in on religion the way I do, please understand I'm not trying to slam any individuals because I realize most of the people, Islam's, Muslims, Christians, Jews, all of them, most of them are truly sincere. They really don't know any better. But there comes a point in time where what is it? They say ignorance of the law is no excuse. If they come into a forum like this with the idea to learn something, that's fine. But if they come in here with the idea of wanting to take over and proselytize, they get removed because that's foolishness. They just let their ignorance really, really show. And so, but when I start talking about the religions, I'm talking about going back to the beginning of who installed them. I'm really not talking about the parishioners because the parishioners have been misled and bamboozled. That's why I speak out the way I do. Lunar Beats, a watcher, was one of the Anunnaki workers who came here from Nibiru to dig up the gold. They called them the Watchers, I guess, because they were watching over us, because they had other functions as well. At one point in time, there was over 600 for Anunnaki from Nibiru here on the Earth, openly working with humanity. Well, some of them would work openly with the main ones, the big ones that had decided they was going to tell us that they were gods according to Yahweh. They didn't visibly show their faces, but some of the other ones did. The lower ones did. Um, I'm not Gaddafi. I'm not redoing any readings tonight. You can email me, Unique, put the email there if you want a personal reading. The reading that's coming up for tomorrow, though, I will kind of show you. It's for the star seeds. It's from the Lemurian Star Child Oracle deck, along with Beyond Lemuria and the Golden Age Tarot. So those were the main decks that I used in that reading, and then I have some other cosmically focused decks like Galactic Heritage and um, Gateway of Light Activation and stuff like that. I was supposed to sit down and do them all. When I sit down to do it, Shawty, you'll get it the same day. I was supposed to do them today, and by the time I finish again, I woke up early, but still didn't make it downstairs to the table to about 1 or 2. And then I sat down to do the reading for the collective because I thought, well, I'll get it recorded and get that up, and then I'll be able to work on the personals. And yeah, that didn't happen. But I am going to get up in the morning and finish those. In fact, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I'll do yours first in the morning. Yeah, my time has been like super, super off. Oh, good, Nixit. Thank you. Appreciate you. Paulette Forbes, honey, ain't nobody got to worry about going into heaven. You all right. We not looking for heaven here, but that's fine. It's coming, honey. I'm gonna do my level best to get them all done before the weekend. I'm gonna say it now because if I keep, like I said, I've been trying to do it and it's stuff happening, but I'm telling you, I'm gonna have to shame myself into doing it. So that's why I say I'm gonna say it right here on this live stream. It is Friday night now. I'm gonna try to get them done before Sunday because it's getting ridiculous. I think you're gonna win this time. Yeah, I mean, because again, the main thing is, do you understand? You're not crazy. We are shifting timelines. We are somewhere we've never been in the universe before, and we can affect some change here. From what I understand, story time is like stepping out of a vehicle into another. We're leaving this physical avatar behind, but our consciousness doesn't really go anywhere. We're still around. We may not remember it when we come back in another avatar, but there's other realms, other dimensions, other realities to explore. So I guess, and that's the hard part. None of us can verify that for sure until it happens and we go. But we do receive signs from the other side that are the ones that we've loved, that have gone on, are still around. They send us signs and connections for those who can perceive them and receive them. So I don't think there's anything for us to really worry about with that. Exactly, Brittany. We are creating New Earth, and it will be much better. Y'all, it's 11:30. I'm getting up out of here because, like I said, that's part of where my time be off. It's gonna be umpteen o'clock, and before you know it, I'll be sitting up here asleep at the table, and then I'll be waking up late tomorrow, and blah blah blah. But I'm gonna get out of here so that I can hopefully get those personal readings done and get some recording done for the channel and get the rest of this 8/8 reading out and published tomorrow. Hey, Nina. Good to have you here. I'm getting ready to check out now, but I will be back on tomorrow. Um, I'm not gonna promise I'm gonna be reading tarot on live tomorrow because I really, really have to get these personal readings done. Williams Lair, you can email me at modernmysticmessages@gmail.com, and then I'll send you a quick reading breakdown of how to go about arranging for the reading if you'd like to. So just email me there. I'm not it. That's just more ignorant than I'm gonna even deal with. Yeah. I will story time. Oh, you want one to? Oh, yes. Yeah, I did write you down, I think. So, or email me. Like I said, if you want one, just email and I'll get it taken care of. All right, lovelies. I appreciate you joining me this evening, and we had a great time. So definitely, those who were interested in a personal reading, email at modernmessages@gmail.com. The mods get a free reading. And other than that, modernmysticmessages@gmail.com, Williams Lair. It's on my About page as well. If you go to the About page on the channel, my email is there as well as my Buy Me a Coffee link. It's a bendy or several of them. Yeah. All right. Have a great evening, y'all. And hopefully I will see you back here tomorrow, probably around 7 p.m. Eastern time. Hopefully you'll be able to join me. I might try to get on a little earlier tomorrow since it's the weekend. Chris Brown, because I want to. It covers my third eye. I like it. It matches the dress. Lord Shiva is my dude. Lots of reasons. Love you all. Peace and blessings to you. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste. Take care.